Straight into it. All right, so I got a question for you, Storm. I got a question. Well, first of all, how long have you been sick?
I have been sick, let's see, July 1st, 12:15 a.m. 2015. So it's over 8 years now, I believe.
That part. All right. So look, what's one of the most common things that we hear from other SIKHs anytime that we discuss or even mention our race or our blackness along with our identity or our self-disclosure as a SIKH. Anytime you mention race, what's the one thing that you hear from most other SIKHs?
I don't see color. I just see sick. I just see It's crazy. It's bullcrap.
They just have to let us know they do not see color. They don't see our race. Why are we mentioning it? Why are we bringing it up? I don't understand. I even had somebody go so far as to scold somebody else on my behalf for saying black and being like, don't say that. Like the word black, identifying somebody as black in and of itself was insulting to them.
Right, right. I've had that happen to me too, where I go, oh, I'm a black Sikh, very proud to be black, and people literally go, "You're not black anymore. You're Punjabi now. You're Sikh now," and I'm just like, "Ugh, that is so cringy."
No, thank you. Yeah. So okay. So for the sake of not being around the bush, right? We're gonna cut straight to the chase. So now we know we hear people in general will say, I don't see color. And I will even admit, I once upon a time kind of used this language. I don't see color, right? I didn't know any better. Okay. We all have to start somewhere, right? But when we talk about Sikhs who come to us and they tell us they don't see color, or they tell us we don't need to be seeing color, or it's a problem that we are self-identifying as black, or we point out our blackness or even mention it, there's usually a particular type of Sikh who does that. For me, it's usually Punjabi Sikhs, right? Like,
Okay.
uh, I've had a couple of black Sikhs like say that to me, and you can they're sort of regurgitating or repeating what they've been told by other Sikhs. But for the most part, the people who say that to me are Punjabi Sikhs. We know for a fact that they see our color, right?
Right.
Like, we know that. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
here's how we really know that not only do they see color, but they also look at us, treat us, see us differently because of that color. Because I think that's what they're really trying to say when they say, I don't see your color, right? Or I'm colorblind. They're trying to say, your race doesn't matter. Like, I will not treat you differently because of your race. That's me giving the benefit of the doubt, right? Okay. But the fact that I went to a Gurdwara in Hayward in the Bay Area, one of the most diverse places in the US. Now, they're probably not used to seeing black people in their space, right? But okay. So I go in there and I'm alone. I've got on my turban. I go, I do my thing. You do what you do at the Gurdwara. This is a pretty big one. It's a lot bigger than my like home one, right? But I would say the fact that the moment I walk into any Gurdwara that I've never been in and they've never seen me, the fact that everybody sort of turns and stares and then just keeps staring tells me that they see my color. They see the difference immediately. Okay. And then it doesn't stop there, because at the Hayward Gurdwara, I was followed. And initially I thought maybe they think I need help. Maybe they think I don't know what I'm doing. I'm lost. No, they were worried, I guess, that I was going to steal because he was trying to hide. So like he's following me and I kind of like turn back and I'm like, what, to speak. And he like turns his head and I'm like, what is happening here? And it finally like clicked. I was like, this is like I'm back in a retail store in a CVS or a Walgreens getting followed by employees. All right. Woo. Yeah, I got to get a new phone ASAP. If anybody's listening out there, if you could let me know if you can hear me, that would be greatly appreciated. Uh, I can hear me. Can you hear me? All right, Ray. Are you ready, Ray? I think you're there. You're ready. All right, we're gonna add you. Yeah. Okay. Now the only other issue is I can hear me playing in the background. I'm trying to resolve that. How are y'all doing today, Ray? How are you doing today?
I'm okay. Just glad to kind of have a little bit of relief from all this studying I've been doing. I have some studying to do tonight too, but today's subject wasn't as intense.
Gotcha. So let's let the people know what you're talking about. Let's introduce ourselves. First of all, welcome to the intersection of Black and Sikh, where we explore
Welcome.
everything happening at the intersection of culture and faith. My name is Smalls. Well, you can call me Smalls. And my pronouns are she, her. I'm here on Chumash and Tongva land in Southern California. And I just want to welcome you to Black and Sikh. And I got with me today one of my faves, one of my favorite Black SIKHs, although I'm biased. So we got Ray with us today. Ray, want to introduce yourself to the people? Let them know what you're talking about in terms of like studying too, because this is wild. When I heard what you were doing, as soon
Oh
as you said
yeah, so
EKG, I was like, checked out.
yeah,
My brain
yeah,
was like, nope.
yeah. So again, as you can see, my handle is Afro Turban Guy. You can find me on most social networking platforms utilizing that same handle. You can call me Ray, and I'm out of Colorado, but originally from Texas.
Nice, nice,
And what I
nice.
was actually talking about for anyone that hadn't seen any of the previous streams, I think I've mentioned it a couple of times, but I am in the military and I'm a medic. And so right now I'm going through something that's called Medic University. And in Medic University, basically they take a bunch of different courses for in a couple different topics. And basically, I go in the hospital in certain sections. I intern there for like 4 hours out of the day. Then we go back over and get lectured for the rest of the day. Then go back in the next morning and test on the thing that we were just taught yesterday,
Good
every
Lord.
single day for
Good
2
Lord.
weeks.
Good Lord. Well, I guess we'll know that you're qualified by the end, right? You will have
I
been
guess.
tested until the cows come home, man.
Pretty much. But yeah, the originally, as you mentioned earlier, yeah, one of the earlier ones I did was EKGs. Today I did, well, no, yesterday was neurology, and today I did respiration. So yeah, I've gotten to see some pretty cool things. I got over to OB like right after 10 seconds after a labor, so I didn't get to actually see a labor, but I saw epidural placement,
I was just
and I
gonna say,
also got.
do you guys do like specialties in the military as medics?
You
Same
most
way you do.
definitely can.
Okay.
Um, and I did uh, God, why can't I think of what it's called? A prostate removal. That was
Okay. Okay.
interesting. That was
Okay.
yesterday.
Okay.
And today I learned some splinting and stuff like that too. But I'm actually considering specializing in stuff now myself. I just learned about it. Doing respiration today. I'm kind of intrigued by it and might decide to get into respiratory.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, I know when you said, for those of you who don't know, I'm a spoonie, uh, aka I have a chronic illness. For those of you who don't know, spoon theory. I won't explain it right now, but it just means that I am sick a lot more than the average person, and I've spent a lot more time in the hospital than the average person. And so when you said EKG, I was like, because I had just had another EKG, and those
Yeah.
things are confusing, and I don't ever understand what they're testing for, because it seems like no matter what I go to the ER for, they're like, all right, let's do an EKG. And I'm like, for what? They're like, what are we doing? And I still don't know. And I don't
Yeah.
ask anymore. I just say, okay. I know if
Yeah.
they don't panic, then I'm alive and still living. So,
Yeah.
all right. So today we're going to talk about food. We were trying to figure out what we wanted to discuss this week. And then you said you were like, I have a couple of ideas, but I don't know if I have content for it. And I don't know that we necessarily have content for it, but I'm sure we have plenty to say about it. Food
I love
and
food.
culture and faith. Now, this is interesting because I don't love food. Now, that probably sounds weird. I think me saying I don't love food sounds as weird to some as when others say they don't like music. You know, like not like I don't like a specific type of music, but they're like, I don't really like music. Like I could do without music. And I'm like, what? How? But that's how I feel about food. You know, like I still haven't, it's been years now and I've been trying to figure out what the opposite of a foodie is. Like, you have like a foodie, people who love food, they love trying different foods, and like they really enjoy food. I've had that experience like a couple of times where I've gone out to
Mhm.
eat and I've been like, this is an enjoyable, like I enjoy this. Usually that's not the case with me. For me, I'm just like food, just get it in my belly, give me my nutrients. I'm good. I don't really care. If I could take a pill every day or drink something every day and get all my nutrients, I would. I wouldn't even eat. I wouldn't bother. I think a lot of it has to do with me not liking to cook and not liking to prepare food or groceries. I don't like
See,
anything about the food experience.
I understand that though. I
Okay.
understand it because although I am a foodie, I'm also like really, really like into fitness, nutrition, and health and stuff like that. So when I'm really, really in my niche and I'm really, really focused on that kind of stuff, nutrition is nutrition and I don't care. So I get that.
Right,
I
right,
get a
right.
person being like that maybe all the time about it because it's like it's just substance, at the end of the
Yeah.
day. So I get that.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. I just give me the sustenance and I'm good. Now here's the other thing. I have a controversial take. Now, if anybody out there is listening that is familiar with Indian cuisine, North Indian, South Indian, like whatever. If you're familiar with Indian cuisine, this live stream might be for you. And I thought it was interesting that you brought up food, because I was just talking to Kimmy, who's our resident MVP, about food and about allergies and food and Indian cuisine and things of that nature. And I was saying, I have a controversial yet brave take on the matter, which is I'm
Okay.
not a huge fan of Indian food. I'm not gonna say most Indian food,
Okay.
and I'm gonna say, at least that's what I thought, right? I thought, like, I just don't like Indian food. I just don't like it. And that's because most of the food that I had was like North Indian, like Punjabi food, to be specific, because of LANGAR, right? And I realized it's not the taste. Taste is lovely, flavors lovely, but I can't even get to that part because of the texture. I have a thing with texture.
Oh, you're a
And
texture
so,
person.
yep, I'm a texture person, which I didn't know for the longest. I couldn't figure out. I was like, certain foods, I can't do it. And I figured out, I was talking to somebody that was being really long-winded, and then they were like, "Oh, so you don't like certain textures?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay, that's a really succinct way of saying it." And that's when I realized that's what it is. Like, I have a thing with certain textures, and so um, a lot of the like yogurt based dishes, I think that's what it is, that kind of seem, I feel like I'm going to say something offensive, and I'm not trying to. It's just because I'm not a foodie. I don't know like the necessarily right words. So if I say something that sounds offensive, I'm not trying to be. And please let me know. And I apologize up front. But like the yogurty kind of like soupy type based dishes, like I'll put it like this: when I get my plate for LANGAR, which I don't actually partake in LANGAR most times anymore, because I don't want to waste food. But usually you get your plate and there's just like 3 or 4 liquidy dishes, and I'm like, why is everything liquid? What's happening? Why is everything like a soupy like texture or whatever?
So not a
And then I
huge
went,
fan of curry then.
not a huge fan, but I went to India for a couple of weeks back in 2016, and I was visiting some friends there. And this is one thing I will say: if you're going somewhere, and I've traveled alone, but if you're going somewhere to a foreign place, a place that is foreign to you, that you've never been before, I always recommend going either with a local if you can, finding a local, meeting up with a local there if you can, stay amongst the locals,
Agreed.
right? But so I went there and I went to visit a friend. One of the friends was in Mumbai, and the other friend was in Bangalore, was in South India, further south. But the first friend took me to eat at these different places, and that's when I discovered, oh, there's Indian food that I do like. There's Indian food that I really, really love. It's just a texture thing, right? And then I also, when I was in the Bay, when I first moved back to California, I got a job working with an Indian food company, and I don't know if they're still in grocery stores, but they had food in grocery stores at the time. And I was working on their graphic design. I was working on their product marketing design stuff. I was updating that stuff, and I was able to try the different foods. And I was like, oh, okay. I had like samosas, and I had like the things that are more like breaded or fried or like more solid foods. And I was like, oh yeah, this I love, because again, the taste, the flavors, I love them. Like I love the spices, the seasonings, even though I can't eat. Now this is the other thing. I can't actually eat a lot of spicy foods. I want to. I still try. Should I? No. But do I? Yes. I still try to eat spicy foods because it tastes good, right? But the problem is, along with my chronic illness, which is sickle cell, it comes with a lot of different comorbidities. And I used to think I was allergic to a lot of stuff because I would eat certain spices and my throat would swell a little bit and it would get scratchy and I would kind of start panicking, which would just make things worse. I went and got allergy tested. Turns out I'm not allergic to anything. So what the hell is going on? Well, long story short, we figured it out. A lot of people with sickle cell have enlarged tonsils. So, and this makes sense. When I was a kid, anytime I went to the doctors, they always used to test my throat, like do the throat swab, which I hated. Every time I went, and I was like, guys, I feel fine. My throat is not sore. Well, it's red and it's enlarged. Why is it red and enlarged? I don't know, but I feel fine. Stop swabbing my throat. Turns out
I don't have strep.
Yeah, it turns out most people with sickle cell, or a lot of people with sickle cell, have enlarged tonsils. Well, if your tonsils are already enlarged, and then you start eating spices or seasoning that cause a little bit of inflammation, because that's what a lot of spicy foods do, it's just going to make the problem worse. So then I started. So long story short, like I said, I like spicy food, but I'm not supposed to eat it.
They don't like you.
The spicy foods do not like me. Spices don't like me. So I'm just mindful. Like I will eat spicy food and then be like chugging milk or like chugging like ice water, anything to kind of like help the inflammation stay down. And something that we're going to talk about in the future is the parallels between, because this is something I've been really, really interested in, is the parallels between Black American culture and South Asian culture, particularly Indian culture. A lot of people, I think, just don't know that there are a lot of parallels and a lot of similarities. And then a lot of people don't know the history of the solidarity between brown and black folks in the
Yeah.
US, right? Which I'm sure if you know anything about white supremacy, if you know anything about the history of the US, you can understand why that might be, right? If you have a
But we've been
system.
played against each other and still are.
Absolutely. But before then, South Asians, Indians in particular, were thought to be black people, right? Because again, this system of race is based on phenotype and is based on nothing more than appearance, right? So if you have some South Asians who are as dark as me or darker, then they just assume black. Like that's just the category you become. You become black, right? And so, so a lot of them end up coming to the U.S. and are trying to figure out, why they're being treated the way they're treated. And it's like, oh, because they think you're one of us, right? And so so then you have a lot of, so then you have solidarity, right? Then you have people sort of understanding on a fundamental level that we're in this together, right? That none of us, that saying that none of us is free until all of us are, is just a prime example of that, right? And so we're gonna at some point explore how we got from that history of solidarity where you've got, I mean, I should have pulled it up, but we're not talking about that today, so I won't get too far into it. But we're going to explore how we got from that history of solidarity where our two communities were fighting the good fight to where we are now, which is like rampant anti-blackness. And again, that's not to say black people are totally innocent and haven't caused harm to the South Asian community or Indian folks. Not saying that at all. I can really only speak from my perspective, right? So we're going to talk about that a little bit. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about some similarities. And one of those is the significance of food in faith and significance of food in our faith practice and religion and in culture in general, right? We know food is like incredibly important to black people. For those who don't know, the food that cuisine, I should say, that is what's the word specific to black people or black Americans is called soul food, right? And a lot of it has to do with the food that was created, the dishes that was created during slavery, when enslaved Africans or enslaved people got the scraps of different dishes and got the leftovers and kind of whatever after they finished making the meal for the master and they would get the scraps and they would make it do what it do. Like they would do what they had to do. They would work it out and figure out how to work it out. They didn't always have the best quality of foods, they didn't always have the best cuts of this, but they figured out how to make it work, right? And so food also has a long history in well, let me not get too deep into it. Let me not get too deep into that right now. Let me just say that there is an importance, and I would love to know. I'm hoping somebody out there is listening that has some knowledge on Indian cuisine and Indian food. We might have to do a part 2 of this and get some experts on here. That would be
I would love
pretty
that.
dope.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, this was kind of a last minute topic idea. But
I have a lot of curiosities because
Same.
I'm sure I've only scratched the surface of maybe some different dishes.
Same, right? And so, everything is political. We know that. And if y'all don't understand what I mean when I say everything is political, maybe I'll explain that in a minute. But I think it's quite interesting. People are like, I'm not into politics. I don't really do politics. I'm like, girl, yes, you do. You just don't know it. But everything is political, including food, right? And so I would love to know more and learn more about the connection and the significance of food in Indian culture, South Asian culture, and Punjabi culture, but then also the connection between food and faith, right? So, for example, when you were practicing Christian, did you guys have food after church? Was that like part of your church experience?
Most of the time, yes. Most of the time it's not going to be there, but it's always been a thing. At least
Like you go
I
out to
thought
eat
it
with the
was for
family?
everybody. But yeah, you go out
Right.
afterwards always. And if it's not going out afterwards, the only times I think that it would necessarily happen there is maybe you were having visitors come over because maybe it's the church anniversary or something else like that.
So special occasions you might have that, but then also repast food. I saw a meme the other day that was like
Oh yeah,
repast food versus baby shower food. Did you see that conversation online? I didn't get
I
too
did
deep into
not,
it.
but Yeah, definitely. Everybody's looking forward to that at a repast for sure.
And it's very ritualistic, right? The preparation of food for a funeral. For those who don't know, repast is like the thing that comes after the funeral, right? My mom was on the bereavement committee at our church, which is still her church. Which basically means the bereavement committee is when somebody passes away, you've got a committee that really handles that, right? Which goes to the family and says, "Hey, what do you need?" That makes sure that they have food for a few days if they need it, if whatever the case may be. And so they kind of, this committee splits up the roles and make sure that they have food, make sure that they're fed. But then also when it comes time to the funeral, you have the funeral, then you have the repast afterward. Everybody congregates, comes together, and then you feed everybody. And it's so interesting that no matter where we are in the country, it seems like there's a certain menu for a repast, right? Like you might have a few differences here and there, but everybody's repast menu seems to be the same. And I'm wondering how it got like that. Like, how did we determine this is repast food? Like, like the black eyed peas and the potato salad. Like some of it is just like Black American food staples, right? But like green beans, I feel like green beans, I may never have green beans throughout the entire year, but the minute I go to a funeral, I'm gonna have some green beans because green beans are gonna be on the menu, right? Or string beans. I don't know. I guess different people call them different things. But I think it's interesting how like there's a certain menu. And even though I'm always like, Black people are not a monolith. We're not all the same. We're spread out all over the country, and yet we've got that similarity. Let me see. There's a couple comments coming in. I see the comments, but I don't see them. Okay. RS 18B says, "May I ask if Black Sikhs are more commonly in one area, or are the people divided in different cities?" I don't think it's related to food, but we can answer this. And I would say I don't think there's a specific area where there are more Black Sikhs than another area. If there is, I wouldn't know what area that is. I know there tends to be a lot more converts in Southern California because of Yogi Bhajan and 3HO, which again we're not going to get into right now. But I do know that. I don't know do you know anything, Ray, about that? Like about the demographics of Black Sikhs? Because I know we've got a Black Sikh in the UK. We've got at least one or two in Canada that I know of. We've got some,
I think everybody's spread out.
Texas, California, East Coast. Yeah, I think everybody's spread out. I don't think there's a particular city. ZTPBTO says, "Keep going and keep being you guys. I'm proud of y'all. Such a call." Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Yes. Then they also said lamb curry with roti and a large bowl of dal. I think that's supposed to be dal.
Agreed.
It's amazing.
I agree with that comment.
I agree too. First of all, lamb is amazing. Yes. Now let's get into this. I think there's a misconception that Sikhs are supposed to be vegetarian. However, that's not a Sikh thing. I think that's more of a cultural thing. But I find it interesting though, because I don't know if Yogi Bhajan was vegetarian or whatever, but a lot of the Sikhs out here in Southern California that are sort of or were affiliated with 3HO are vegetarian as well, and like strictly vegetarian, and they attribute it to being Sikh. So I don't know why that is, but again, I think that might just be like some cultural influence. But speaking of that,
always a debate about that.
About what?
About the choice to whether or not you eat meat.
Right. Well, see, the thing is,
see debates about that.
Is there not I don't ever know what to call it. I don't want to call it like a mandate, but there's definitely a prescription or something that says Sikhs are not supposed to be eating halal meat, right? Like any meat that is ritualistically killed. It has to do with causing the animal to suffer. I don't know if you guys know how halal meat is prepared, but I would imagine that if we have that directive, then the directive is not don't eat meat. It's be mindful of what meat you're eating, right? I know that, if you're vegetarian, one great place to be is India. If you're a vegetarian, I'm gonna tell you that. Whereas here in the US, being vegetarian is sort of like an afterthought. It's like a lifestyle change, right? And you can go to different restaurants and be very limited on your options for food and for meals. That is not the case in India.
That's you can honestly, if you have
your entire life and never eat meat and not miss out on anything.
I think that's honestly, if you have any kind of dietary restrictions or change or anything that's different from the standard American diet, because I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've spoken to some of my friends who are Muslim, and depending on the state that they're in or anything else like that, they can't find many
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
places that do serve halal meats and things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
just think in
And
general,
can you want to tell them like what a typical standard American diet is? Now see, this is the thing. A lot of times when people say American, what they mean is white American, right? And so I will see
yeah,
that a lot when you see
yeah,
like comedy sketches online and stuff. You'll see like Asians do this and then Americans do this. And I'm like, I think you mean white Americans because
yeah.
because I will immediately want to respond and say, well, Black Americans don't do that. And then I go, well, Latino Americans don't do that either. Well, actually, Asian Americans don't do that. Actually, you just mean white Americans. The only people that do that is white
Pretty
Americans. So I
much.
see that a lot, right? But a standard, let me say not standard. What does a stereotypical American diet consist of? Like, what would
Burgers
you
and
say?
pizza.
Burgers, pizza, hot dogs. Matter of fact, if you look at the Grubhub app and you have the different categories for like Asian,
Yeah.
the little emoji or the little icon for American is a hot dog, right? Which I guess
And
kind of makes
the
sense. I think of
restaurants
hot dog
under that,
baseball.
when you really look at it, what falls under that category, it's very boring and
Oh,
sad.
so boring. So boring. So boring. But I will say the thing that I do like, as much as like as critical of the US as we are, which I think rightfully so, keep your foot on their neck. By they, I mean everybody, us, I don't know, the US. Anyways, as critical as I am of the US, I will say I do like the diversity. I do really greatly appreciate the diversity. Um, the fact that like growing up, my favorite meal consisted of Filipino dishes, and I didn't know it. Like I just thought, like you know what I'm saying. Like I didn't know it was like specific to being a Filipino dish, like chicken adobo. It's my favorite meal. Like if I had like a last meal, which is something I wanted to ask you about. Like, what would your last meal be? If my last meal consists of chicken adobo, it's actually a mix of like Filipino food and soul food. But growing up, I
Chicken
just
and
ate
dumplings for me.
Filipino food. Yeah, I just ate
Chicken and
Filipino food. I
dumplings.
had Asian food. I had Jamaican food, like different types of Caribbean food. I had
Ooh.
West African food, and not really fully always understanding until I got like to be a teenager that these were different parts of different cultures, and a lot of that just had to do with my
Yes.
mom had friends of this culture, and we had family friends of this culture, and like the first time we went to Jamaica, it's because we knew people from Jamaica. I had
Curry
like
goat. Mm.
a bunch of different stuff, right? Like oxtail and like just amazing dishes. And
Jerk
so
chicken.
right. And so I would say like the stereotypical like American food is probably not even the most like we're not eating that every day. You know what I'm saying? Like like the things when I hear people talk about like American food, I'm like, who's eating that? Ain't nobody eating hot dogs every night. Like hot dogs is
If we
for
gonna
4th
be
of July.
honest, white people ain't even eating that every day no more.
No,
They don't
no.
want that
You know
either.
what white people are eating? Indian takeout. That's what they're eating.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? We not eating hot dogs and pizza every day. I don't even like pizza that much. Okay, so real quick, I want to know if anybody, for those of you out there listening, if you're watching this on playback, drop it in the comments. What would your last meal be? All right, I've thought about this, and it's interesting for me to not be a foodie. Why I've thought about it so much, I don't know, but I know exactly what my last meal consists of, and I've had it before actually. Because anytime I would come home from college, it's the meal that my mom would make me. Like I would tell her my favorite dishes. And I will say, I got a caveat that some of my favorite dishes, they're my favorite based on the way that they're prepared by my mom or my granny or my dad, right? It's not like mac and cheese. Love mac and cheese, but I wouldn't call it a favorite because I don't like the way everybody make it. I don't like the way some of y'all make
See,
it. You know what I'm
I can
saying?
relate. I
I
could
don't want my
relate
mac and cheese
because
making noise like that. I like my mac
yeah,
and cheese baked. I want to
yeah.
be able to chew it. I don't
See,
want to be like,
I can relate because my favorite, my last meal. At first, I was thinking chicken and dumplings because I do love that, but that actually wouldn't be the best. But the truth of the matter is, because someone said it earlier, and I agreed with them when we said lamb curry. But specifically, so far, because it's the best thing I've ever had in my life. When I was in Leipzig, Germany, I stopped at an Indian restaurant there, right outside the hotel that I was staying in, and it was the best lamb curry I've ever had in my life. So I need that lamb curry from that place right there. I walked in and
Exactly.
there were nothing but sings everywhere, and I sat down, and it was a small little restaurant too. But oh my god, it was amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Like one of my favorite foods of all time is dressing. But it's not just any dressing. It's really just dressing the way my granny makes it. And I don't really think anybody makes it. Like I think if most people had my granny's dressing, I don't know. I'm just kind of assuming they probably wouldn't like it because it's very different than the way it's like usually prepared, like it's a Thanksgiving meal. But I have liked it so much throughout my entire life that on Thanksgiving I get my own pan. I have like
Mm.
3 Ziploc bags full right now in my freezer of my granny's dressing. Okay. Like that's how much I like it. Like they just make it and then my granny just makes me a separate pan and then a separate bucket of gravy. And if,
I
if I'm
love
not
it.
if I'm not in town, it gets
Oh, does
shipped
she
to
make
me
the
or brought
giblet
to me.
gravy?
Hell yeah, you know she does.
Yes,
She's from
yes.
Arkansas, man, from the deep South, right? Like, I'm like the first generation born in California, so my whole family's from the South, my whole family's from California. So yeah, we make the giblet gravy, of course, the gizzards,
You're
all of
gonna have
that,
to,
and
you might
it,
have to see if you can get me a recipe for that because unfortunately my grandmother is incapacitated now and I didn't learn that before. She's
yeah,
still with me, but she can't speak as much,
that's
so
one
she
thing I
definitely
will
can't
say
get me that.
is make
Nobody
sure
else in
you
my
know.
family can make it.
Exactly, exactly. My granny's the only one that makes the dressing. And the thing about it is like I don't think anybody is as passionate about it as me. So I don't think anybody's like, "Oh, we must preserve this recipe." And I'm like like part of me is like I don't want to think about my granny like not being here. So I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to pretend like she just going to live forever. And then the other part is like I don't like cooking and I don't like preparing food. But you know, if I want the food, if I want the I'm going to have to figure it out. So I kind of
Yep.
know how to make it. I have made it with her before. I don't love it. I don't enjoy it, but if that's how I gotta have it, that's how I gotta have it, right? So yeah, so like dressing is another one that I really love. So I want to see what some of y'all say. Ray, be thinking about what your last meal consists of. I want like even if it's multiple courses, I want every food item that you got on there. What are you washing it down with? What are you drinking with it? Think about that. I'm gonna look at some of these comments right quick. I want to know what
Okay.
y'all's last meal would be. And we don't have to think about it like dying or like in prison, but like if we all decided, okay, this is the last meal you get. The last meal. Let's make it like this. The last meal you get to choose. From here on out, you just get whatever they feed you. Let's not make it like
Okay.
morbid, whatever. Let's say this is the last meal you get to choose. You get to choose whatever food item you want and prepared any way you want it prepared by whoever you want to prepare it. Okay, so think about that. I'm gonna get to some of these comments in just a second. I'm gonna get to some of these comments right now, and then I'm gonna come back in just a second and see what we got. All right, so let me see. We got Eric. Eric, what
Shiny
up?
veneer. I
Let's
want to look
see.
that up. I wonder what that is.
Let's see. All right. So Eric says, speaking from my familial experience, I was just about to say Eric's from Germany, but then he says right. Okay. So speaking from my familiar experience, Germans from Russia who immigrated to the U.S. in 1915, food traditions remain after white supremacy forces assimilation, and we lose our cultural and linguistic traditions. Yes. Yes. Wait. He got me thinking though. You're right. You're right. You're right. Even, because now I think it's interesting because a lot of we Black Americans have definitely had to like create our own culture here, right? And by our I mean our ancestors, right? Have had to create our own culture because yes, when we got here, language was taken from us, religious and spiritual practice were taken from us. We were separated and all kind of mixed up and things like that, so we can communicate with each other. But yeah, some food has remained. Now I don't know if it's like as strong as like the ties back to different regions of Africa are as strong as what Eric is talking about here, right? But there's definitely some leftover. There is a creator by the name of, oh my goodness, why am I blanking? Christina Brown. Christina Brown. She's a wonderful creator, hilarious, talented, genius, funny. I'm gonna try to find I think her name is like Miss Christina B or something like that. I'm gonna try to find it in a second. But Christina, she has this series. She did a series of videos. If you can find the channel, if I can find the channel for you, I'm gonna maybe try to play some of it. Actually, let me see if I can. I can find that video and play it. But she talks about the different connections of soul food and food that's part of Black culture throughout the diaspora, right? So Caribbean, African food, multiple regions in Africa, Black American culture, Black folks in the UK. there's this connection. There are some common threads, right? Even if we call them different things and they're slightly
Yep.
different and they're prepared slightly different, there's this
Yep.
connection, right? Like jambalaya and jollof, right? Like there's a connection. There's some similarities there, right? And like, and I think the same is true for every Black American dish or every dish of the African diaspora. I think that there's like a I don't want to call it like equivalent, but like a parallel to South Asian culture, right? Because the more I was introduced to South Asian food, the more I was like, oh, we got something like this. Oh, we have something like this. Oh, we have something like this. Or Caribbeans have something like this. And so I think that's really interesting. And so I love that take. And now I feel like I could write like a dissertation on that, or I could do a research paper about that. Let me just say that again. Speaking from my familial experience, Germans from Russia who immigrated to the US in 1915, food traditions remain after white supremacy forces assimilation and we lose our cultural and linguistic traditions. Because for those of you who don't know, just like a quick breakdown, the way that white supremacy works, right? So race is something that was created by white supremacists to justify enslaving other humans, right? And they do that by saying, you're different than us. We're humans and we're people, but you're not. And the difference is going to be skin color. Okay, you're Black, we're white. Wrong, right? The problem is they didn't always treat all white people like that, right? So Italians,
Irish,
Polish, Irish were not always considered white, right? They had a very specific definition of what white was. And so, yes, the way the white supremacy works is by forcing assimilation, by sort of forcing everybody to be the same, by stripping folks of their culture and saying this is now white. And this is why I always make the argument that I don't really think that there is a such thing as white culture. I think there is, and not in any positive sense, at least. There's Italian culture, there's Irish culture, there's Polish culture, but I don't know that there's such thing as white culture. And that has to do with like the history of the US. Like if you name anything, if I say name something that's white culture, a lot of times that is tied to a specific culture and not just like whiteness overall, or white people overall, I should say. Yeah, okay. We aren't supposed to, Rahit Marietta, we aren't supposed to eat halal meats. Yep. Many Sikh denominations extend it to don't eat meat. Yeah, again, this is why I'm always mindful, and my response is usually, what do the Guru say? What does Guru Granth Sahib Ji say? Because a lot of times it becomes like a game of telephone, right? Where one thing is said and then somebody interprets it like this, or twists it like this, or leaves this part on, or adds this part, right? Because the rule is not don't eat meat, it's don't eat halal meat. Don't eat meats that are killed ritualistically where the animal suffers. And a lot of that has to do with that. We believe that God is in everything, right? And so the process of making halal meat is to, you cut the animal's neck. Trigger warning if you don't want to hear about animal abuse and things of that nature. Here it is. You cut the animal's neck and you let the blood drain out, and the animal can still be alive when that's happening, right? Can still be feeling things, and that ain't
interestingly
cool.
enough, and I just want to add this conjecture there because I've had this conversation with somebody before. Interestingly enough, some of their thought process, however, is that they do believe that it's less cruel to the animal. So I think that's the reason that it's definitely an interesting comparison or difference between those
Who
two.
believes what's
Because
less cruel to the animal?
so it's believed by a lot of Muslims. I had that conversation with one of my friends that because they say that the meat industry generally can be extremely cruel in general to the animals in the way that they slaughter them. So they actually do believe that their method for the slaughter of the animals in that method is less cruel to the animal.
Interesting. What do you think?
Hearing it described like that, if the animal's still alive while doing it, I would honestly, I don't know. I can't say that I would agree.
Yeah, and I guess it goes. I don't know enough. Again, I'm always mindful of like how much I'm speaking on something when I don't know what I'm talking about, right? And again, food is not my forte, and the preparing of food is not my forte. I only know what I've read so far. So please, by all means, if somebody has better information, please absolutely correct us, educate us, if you would be so kind. I I guess it comes down to, is the animal still alive or not? Can the animal feel it? Because one thing I know is that animals are smart, bro. Like, I don't know that a lot of us give animals enough credit for how smart they can be. They are sentient beings for how much that they can feel and understand and comprehend. And so, yeah, I guess it goes back to, is the animal still alive? If there's
They
any
say
chance at
it's
all
not.
that the animal is right, if there's any chance at all that the animal's still alive, then I would say no. Now, if you're saying that the animal is
They
right
said
from
that the
all,
goal is to have a very sharp instrument in order to cut that area of the throat right there and create an instant kill, is what I've been told. And again, like I said, because I'm not an expert, because I don't do it, that's what I've been told by some of my Muslim friends. So I don't know, maybe.
got you. Somebody said that they've watched her channel. If you can find it, I don't know. I cannot figure out the name. And of course, if I just was to swipe and scroll right now, I'm not going to find it. And I don't know her channel off top. Miss Tina B. I don't know. It's like Miss X. It's Christina Brown. Maybe I can just type in Christina Brown. If anybody can find that channel for me, I can't. Oh, it's not. It's that brown girl. Nope, that's not her channel. This might be. Oh yeah, Xtina B. Okay, XTINAA
Oh, I've seen her before
B.
too. I think I saw like a brief video one time. That sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Miss Xtina B. Okay, so I did have it right. Maybe a little trust myself a little bit more. It's Miss MISS Xtina B. XTINA B. I want to see if I can find the food one. See, that's the thing. Like, no matter how much I prepare for these streams, I always think of something during the stream that I'm like, oh, I wish I had thought of that before, so I could have had this pulled up. It
There's one
happens no matter.
too. Last meal, Eric. Last meal, Shahi Paneer. Hmm. What is that? I'll look
All right.
that
Well, I'm
up.
gonna put the username in the chat. I don't know how far back. I don't know how much content she makes, so I don't know how far back this goes. Um, and I don't. There's no like cover for me to see. Like, this is the one, and I don't want to just be watching like a bunch of reels. But I would go to her channel. She's got a series where she talks about food in the diaspora and the similarities. Yeah. All right. So let's get back to this. Let's see.
Ah,
Um, Eric
okay.
says, Jessica, animals are killed with a single strike that takes off the head. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. I think we're okay. Kimmy, let me I'm gonna tap some of these. Oh, you start them for me. Last meal. Oh, we're gonna get to last meals in a second. Okay, Yin Yang says, I've that reminds me of the Yin Yang twins. I've watched her channel. I'm Haitian. I see similarities with Louisiana and Mississippi. Absolutely. There are absolutely a lot of similarities between Haitian
Mm-hmm.
and then the whole like Creole diaspora, Louisiana, Mississippi, even a little touch of little Alabama in there.
Well, because
Absolutely.
spirituality and all of that, if we're gonna be
Mm-hmm.
honest.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of overlap there, not just for food, but yeah, for sure. Let's see, my favorite food. Okay, we talk about that in a second. There's some scientific evidence to support that, not dismissing the ritual slaughter. I'm not sure what that is. That kind of happens with the delay with the comments. I'm not sure what that is.
They were
There's some,
referring to the whole slicing of the neck with the sharp instrument thing that I mentioned. They're saying
right,
there's
but
some
the
similarity.
evidence, scientific evidence to support what though? Do you know?
I guess maybe that it being peaceful, maybe because it's after that they said, but it's more peaceful.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yin Yang, if you could let us know. My apologies. We got to it. We get to it later. There's a bit of a delay. Okay, so let's talk about some of these last meal options. All right. Eric says Shahi Paneer. I know what paneer is. I don't know what specifically Shahi paneer is, but okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Yin Yang last meal. Y'all gotta be more specific. I need some more details, right? I wanna envision your plate. Like, don't just give me like the name of the meal. Like, tell me about it. I wanna know what this meal
Make
consists
our
of. Like,
mouths water.
yeah, for those who don't know what paneer is, what's paneer? You know what I'm saying? For those who don't know what, like, like if somebody was like ackee and saltfish is my favorite. Like, what is that? Like, tell us what that is a little bit. That's
Yo,
just an
red
example.
snapper, it slaps, and I love me some plantains.
Okay, yeah, like this grilled red snapper with fried plantain or fried plantains, however you say it, right? Okay. Yes, absolutely. First of all, there's very few fish that I don't love. I think maybe my least favorite is probably like catfish, and catfish is still cool, right? So grilled red snapper with fried plantains. Okay, what else? What are you having to drink with that? Do you have any side dishes with that? How is it made? You know what seasoning is going that? How are the plantains fried? Are they fried hard? You fry them so like how you do them? Like they're different. Tell me, give me some more specifics. I want to know. All right, let's see. Kimmy had a meal in here. Did I miss it? Did I bypass it? Oh, my favorite foods. There we go. My favorite foods are. Kimmy is like in my brain or something, bro. Like I be halfway through the sentence and Kimmy be like, "Got you." Like what the heck, man? Kimmy be on that sorcery stuff. My favorite foods are pretty different from one another. From my brother's meatloaf to tetrazzini, so it's hard to choose just one. I'd probably say pre-split crab legs if I had to, though. Oh my god, crab legs. Okay, seafood is the one thing I will say. You're muted if you're talking right.
Oh, I was saying I feel that I ain't trying to do all that extra work.
I don't mind doing the work, but yeah, I mean that's cool too. Pre-split is ideal because I don't want it all the way open. I don't know. To me, part of like cracking it is part of the experience. But I don't want to do too much work. But yeah, okay, that is a little bit different. So we got your brother's meatloaf, to tetrazzini, and pre-split crab legs. Now here's a question: can you eat that all in one meal? Because a lot of people I think would say no, because there's a lot of rules around food. First of all, you don't tell me what to do with my food, okay? If I want to put things together on my plate that you say don't go together, but I like it, then that's how we gonna eat it, okay? So don't be. I don't like that. I think some one culture that's really big on rules around food is Italians. I don't know if I'll be going to Italy anytime soon, but I hear a lot of stories about how like Italian waiters will be like, no, or like, no, you're not supposed to do like this, or you're not supposed to do it like this. First of all, let me eat my food how I want to eat it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if they tip in Italy, but either way, let me eat my food how I want to eat it. Now, there's a fine line, right? There's a fine line between leave me alone and let me eat it how I want to eat it, and let me respect the culture. Okay, but if I'm not disrespecting the culture, then you just gotta chill. Let me eat my food how I want to eat it. Now, I will say,
yeah, I ain't putting ketchup on a steak. Like I ain't
yeah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. But you know what I'm not gonna do? You know what I'm not gonna do? I'm not gonna knock somebody who does. I'm not gonna knock somebody who does, because if that's how you want to eat your steak, it's not going in my mouth. It's not going in my stomach. I don't care. Yep. I'm not eating it. You eat it how you want to eat it. Okay. You're getting your protein, you're getting your fill, you're getting your sustenance. I don't care. That's fine. I don't even like steak. So that's that on that. Yeah. Okay. So that's your favorite food. Let's see what else we got. Paneer is cottage cheese. No, I know. I'm saying, we're not creative writers in the building. I see. Okay. So for those who don't know, yes, paneer is cheese. It's actually really good. If somebody had told me what paneer was before I tried it, I probably would not have tried it, right? Because again, I'm very mindful and picky about my foods, and when I think like, oh, I'm not gonna like something, I'm not gonna like the taste or the feel, that I already just have this aversion to it. So I have gotten to the point where I'm willing to try something before I know what it is. Like my granny's dressing, once I helped her make it, I was like, oh, I didn't need to know what was in this. I didn't need to know how this was prepared. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, I didn't need to be feeling on these gizzards like this. I didn't need that in my life.
That happened to me when my granny was here. Before my granny got sick, when she came down, I wanted her to show me how she makes her potato salad. And remember, circling back, I told y'all how I'm a little bit of a health nut and everything else like that. My granny's potato salad is bomb, but I got it together and she showed me, and I was sitting there like, I can't eat this all the
time. It's wild,
man. A whole lot of stuff in here. No.
All right, let me tell you about, I hope I don't miss anything. I'm gonna tell you about my favorite food, my last meal. Here's my last meal. All right, so we got the chicken adobo. Okay, for those who don't know, it's a Filipino dish. That's the way it's prepared. And for a lot of Filipino foods, this is at least what I have learned thus far. A lot of Filipino foods reflect life in the Philippines, obviously, but in that you might not always have access to refrigeration. Right. So if you need food to last, but you can't put it in the refrigerator, you need a way to make it last. Right. And so I know that vinegar is used a lot in a lot of Filipino dishes. And that's another one of those things where if I had known how it was prepared beforehand, I probably wouldn't have tried it. Right. Yeah. But the other thing is, one thing that I love that my mom did was she kind of tweaked it a little bit and prepared it in a way that she knew that I would eat it and I would like it. Like if something's too vinegary or too sour, I can't do it, right?
Same. So that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So the way that she makes it is a little bit sweeter. It's not as like vinegary. So I will say chicken adobo, but preferably my mom's. All right. Then we got candy yams. Bro.
Oof.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
just give me the diabetes. That's fine. Okay. Because I'm talking about a whole crap ton of sugar. All right. Now, I am mindful. This is not something I eat every day because, and we're going to talk about the villainization of cultural foods in America by white supremacy. We'll talk about that in a second. But it's not something that I have every day, but it has a lot of sugar in it, and I'm okay with that. You know, when I eat it, I eat it. It's got the way my mom makes it, it's got a lot of sugar and a lot of butter. Matter of fact, when you put it in the refrigerator and you take it back out, it's like hard because the butter is just like right, and you heat it up, and it's just amazing. Okay, so chicken adobo, candy yams, cabbage.
If I
Oh my
might,
God,
by the way,
cabbage.
if I might, by the way, with you saying that, it's like, yeah, people could probably talk about it or villainize it or something, but ain't nobody say nothing to Paula Deen when she was putting 4 sticks of
Oh,
butter and everything.
oh no, we're gonna
So
get there though. Oh no, we're gonna get there though, bro. You already know we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Cause that's the way that white supremacy works. You know, you villainize the Indian. Never mind. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Okay. So cabbage. I love greens. Now, I was a weird child. I didn't like a lot of candy, but I loved me some fruits and vegetables. I grew up with a garden in our front yard. And so we literally went out and got the cucumbers, got the watermelon, got the whatever. That's what I would eat during the summer. And we would go out to the farm. A lot of people don't know this, but a lot of the country's produce is actually produced in California, in Central California, because there's a lot of farmland. Most people in California live in Southern California or Northern California / the Bay. It's really like people live in Southern California, the Bay, and then there's racist people, and then there's Central California farmland. I probably shouldn't have said that, but that's basically how it is. Just look up the stats for Redding and Eureka and all that stuff. Anyway, then you got Central California, which is farmland. So we used to go out to the farm and we would just pick our produce, right? And I really took that for granted. I didn't know that food deserts exist, that you can go to places throughout the country and not have access to produce. And I found that out the hard way, which was moving to New Orleans at 17 to go to college. And then Hurricane Katrina hit 2 weeks later. So not only was produce not super readily accessible already in New Orleans, but then Hurricane Katrina made it worse. So I went through most of my college years without access to amazing good produce, which was a 180 for me, right? And I had to get used to a lot of foods prepared different ways and without fresh fruits and vegetables and things of that nature. But cabbage, oh my God, I love cabbage. I could eat cabbage all day. Like my mom could just make a whole thing of cabbage and just for me again. And again, I think this has to do with me being neurospicy, but when I like something, I like it.
Yep.
I don't venture out a lot. I'm not super adventurous with my foods. When I like it, and I will eat it over. And I went through a phase of eating a very specific pizza, which was pizza with pineapple. Shut up. Mind your business. Okay.
No,
pineapple.
I agree.
Not you. I'm talking to the people who are going to automatically say something about me putting pineapple on your pizza. You worry about what's on your plate. Okay.
Yeah.
Pineapple, green peppers, chicken, and barbecue sauce. So instead of marinara sauce or, whatever the regular pizza sauce that is on there, barbecue sauce. Love it. That's my favorite. And I went through a period like a personal pan of that like every day for like weeks. And that's just how
I
go
assume that you're like me then. Although I will sometimes venture out when I'm in the mood for it, certain restaurants, when I go there, I know that I'm getting exactly what I always get from there.
Yeah.
Because that's what I want.
Yeah. I'm not like I'm a chicken tenders person, but not a chicken tenders person. What I mean by that is like you'll have some people who will make fun of people who go to like fancy restaurants or really nice restaurants and then order chicken tenders. Again, mind your business, let people eat. I'm not gonna order chicken tenders, but I am the person who will order a salad. I will go to a super fancy place and order a salad if the salad is good, because salad is actually my favorite food. Like I won't say you can't go wrong with a salad, but I don't understand people who don't like salads. I guess
there's so many different good ways to do a salad. So yeah.
Here's what I will say: if you like vegetables and stuff, fruit and vegetables, but you're like, oh, I don't like salads or it's kind of bland, season your salad. Season your salad, bro. You're putting a bunch of vegetables together. You're chopping them up real nice. Make sure they're good quality, fresh, not soggy, and then season them. Put some Tony Chachere's on there, salt and pepper, garlic, whatever you want to put on it, but season it. Don't just be in there eating the veggies raw, like naked. Season a salad.
And see, my mom had a hard time. I can tell her that my mom had a hard time with salads because she does it like the dressings. She's not a fan of vinegar, and most dressings have vinegar in them.
I only eat one dressing for the same reason as your mom, because I can't really do a lot of vinegar. I eat ranch dressing, or I will eat it without. Like I can eat it with like just like sometimes oil, or like I can have the bare minimum dressing as long as it's if the vegetables if the items in the salad are good, and again, I prefer spinach salad, but there's other type of lettuces and greens that I can eat. I can eat it by
Arugula.
itself. I can eat it raw. I can eat it naked, but it got to be seasoned right. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Give me some
so
olives
salad.
on there because they'll season it just right too.
Oh, I can't do olives. Olives taste funny on my tongue, on my mouth. I can't do it. Or not taste funny, they feel funny. Okay, so what I said, okay, I said, let me just get through this. So I got what I said: chicken adobo, candy yams, cabbage, rice, white rice, not brown rice. I don't want a substitute. I want white rice, butter, sugar, white rice, period. Okay. And then I'm missing something. I might think about it later. But that's the gist of it. All right. And to drink, it don't really matter. I don't drink soda. So, water or
I don't drink soda either.
a good fruit juice, a good nice, not a good like actual fruit juice, not like Minute Maid fruit punch, but like a good nice fruit juice would be great. That's that. Now, Eric, I see your question and I'm gonna answer that in a second. Controversial question for later. Which region has the best barbecue? We're gonna tackle that in a second. We're gonna tackle that in a second because I got some thoughts. On that. Okay, so that's my final meal. Let's see what the if Instagram is saying anything. Dada. I don't know what that is. This is like the first time where I don't know any of those words. I don't think. Somebody school me, please.
Yeah.
Let me
Somebody
know
follow up and let us know what that is.
what that is. Okay. And now what about you? What's your last meal? The last meal you get to choose, you get to put together however you want it and whoever makes it. Now, and to be clear, if I'm having mac and cheese, it's got to be made by my dad, my stepdad, okay? If I'm having dressing, it's got to be made by my granny. If I'm having candy yams, you would think anybody can make rice, right? I don't know. My dad's rice is too perfect. I don't know how to explain it, but like my mom makes the rice that kind of sticks together a little bit. It's not exactly sticky rice, but I like it a little bit like sticks together. My dad's like, it's like when it finishes cooking, it's just so perfect. It's like you can still pick it up and all the grains fall apart separately by themselves. I don't want my rice like that.
You kind of like it the way that people eat it when it's with sushi.
Yeah, very much. Okay. Yeah, very much. So I am like really particular. So having said this, I have had people who've been like, oh, let's go to this restaurant because I know one of your favorite foods is X and they make this. And then I get there, I'm like, or before I even get there, I already know, oh no, but it's not that I like that food. I like the way my person prepares it, right? Like, So you get there and like greens, for example, I don't want my greens to be really crunchy. That sounds weird, but I'm used to my greens being a little bit more chewy because my granny kind of overcooks them a little bit. That's okay. That's how I grew up eating them, and that's how I like them.
That's how my mom does them too.
Yeah. So
and you got to mix the collards with just a little bit of mustards too.
That's nice. That's nice. Now I do like all kind of greens, but I do. That's a good blend. Collards and mustard is a good blend. Okay, now let's get to the barbecue real quick, and then we go.
I got to give you mine.
Yeah, well, I'm about to say that. I said we're gonna get to the barbecue real quick after you give us your last meal, and then we're gonna tie this back up and talk about the connection between food and faith. But yeah, okay. So first, let's start with what's your last meal? If you
all right, so
maybe we shouldn't call it a last meal. Let's say your perfect meal.
Okay, so I am, like I said, I'm definitely going with the curried goat that I mentioned. I mean, not the curried goat, the lamb curry that I mentioned. I have to get my dad's oxtails because I don't know what it is about when he does them, but folks like to joke about the tenderness of oxtails when it's so good that it's falling off the bone. Yes, you can shake it a little bit and it just fall off.
Oxtails, bro. Like the oxtails is perfect when you pick up the bone, but the meat don't come with it. It just be hanging off. The bone just naked. Yes. Oxtails is amazing.
Gotta have some of those.
Is there? I'm not gonna say is there a wrong way to have oxtails or mess up oxtails, but I will say oxtails is one of the things that like, no matter who's prepared it, I've liked it. Like I can because. If it's done right, it's done right. You know what I'm saying? Like you can mess up oxtails by like not cooking it all the way, maybe not seasoning it enough. But like if you do it right, even if it's different, than maybe how I'm used to, I still rock with it. I don't know why, but I fucks with oxtails.
I need a pecan pie. And
I didn't even think about dessert, bro.
Yeah, I need me a nice pecan pie. And I need to rinse that down with a big old glass of raspberry lemonade.
Oh, raspberry
or southern tea. You know, that tea that Granny
Oh,
took outside, made it in a big old mason jar, and it sat outside in the sun all day.
I hate tea. Oh God.
What?
I hate hot tea. I hate cold tea. I hate sweet tea. I don't like none of it. I don't like iced tea. I don't like tea. But again, I'm from California. We don't really do tea out here like talk about. I remember I got to Xavier, I got to New Orleans, and like tea is like they got tea running through their veins out there. And again, I won't knock it, but I can't do tea. But I feel you. All right. So what else? What else we got?
That is my meal. I'm good
Okay,
there.
that's your
Once I
meal.
get
Okay.
that. Oh,
Okay.
maybe add in a couple pieces of jerk chicken specifically from Jamaica, because I've had places here that like to try to do the jerk chicken, and what I had in Jamaica was just different.
It
It
is.
just was.
It's different. It's you think you've had jerk chicken and then you go to Jamaica, or you have a Jamaican make it and you like, and then if you do have a Jamaican make it, you got to let them know like they can make it like how they normally make. Because a lot of times they'll make it and kind of like tweak it
They
a little bit because
scared
they'll
they're
be
gonna
like, oh,
spice it
you
too
can't
much.
handle. Exactly. They scared they're gonna scare you away, and you got to tell them, nah, just make it how you make it. I'll handle it. I'll deal with the consequences. You got to tell them that. And I think that's the same thing for a lot of foods. Like a lot of times they will sort of again edit things. I don't know why I'm using the word edit, but edit things for like a Western palate, and you gotta let them know, like, nah, just give it to me how you know, give it to me right. Give
In
it to me straight.
Houston, we had a place called the Reggae Hut. That's a Jamaican spot, and there it's originally there. And they have a sign up when you come in that lets you know, let people know there, because it's right in an area where a lot of tourists come through too. And they have a sign up that says that warns you that the jerk chicken is spicy. So when I came up and I ordered it, and she was like, "Okay, you know it's spicy," and I looked at her and said, "It better be." And she's like, "Oh, you know what you're doing?" Like, yeah.
Yeah. You gotta let them know sometimes. All right, what's your favorite? You got a favorite Jamaican dish, or like not even dish, but like a favorite? Like I think if somebody was like pick one thing from Jamaica, I think I would say like beef patties. Which I know it's so simple, it's so basic, but I really rocks with a beef patty, and it's hard to find good
Them
beef
rice
patties
and
out here, y'all.
peas.
Rice and peas. Yep. Okay. Rice and peas. Yep. Which is what, red beans and rice, basically. I mean, not really,
Yeah,
but kind of. All right.
ish.
Ish. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Kimmy said, I would eat all of my favorites. Uh-oh. I'm trying to put that on the screen. I would eat all of my favorites together. The issue would be stopping myself from gorging on any of them so I can enjoy them all with Pepsi, the superior soda, and a Bahama Mama to drink. Oh, nice. All right. So, I was about to say, I think we lost Ray. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Okay, Pepsi. Again, I'm not a soda person, and I'm not in the fight. I'm not in the Pepsi Coke fight. I'm gonna just take your word for it when it comes to soda. However, unless we're talking about a ting like the Jamaican sodas. First of all, sodas outside of the US are different.
They way better.
I don't know what we're doing in the US, but sodas outside of the US just hit different. They are, I don't.
You ever had one of those Mexican apple sodas?
Of course I have. I live in a Mexican
Oh,
neighborhood. Yes, I am
yeah.
2 feet from Mexico. Yes, I have had a Mexican apple
Those
soda.
are
It's
those.
at the corner store. Yeah. I like that. I like pretty much like any Mexican soda, to be honest with
Oh,
you.
Jarritos.
Jarritos, yeah, all day long. Yeah, I like all of them. Or Jumex is, I love Jumex too. I don't even know that's how you say it. It might be Jumex. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, I would eat all my favorites together, even if they don't go together too. I don't care. I eat it all together. Tetrazzini. Oh, here we go. I'm gonna just start saying. Kimmy will put it on the screen, I'm sure. Tetrazzini with lots of mushrooms, peas, and onions. Meatloaf with chunky mashed potatoes and sautéed baby carrots. Crab legs with one of those butter dishes that have a little flame to keep it hot and lick. That's what I'm talking about. This is the type of detail we need. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. Like, describe it to us. Let us know. I want to experience it. Tetrazzini with lots of mushrooms. Ew, but not yucking your yum. If you rocks with mushrooms, amen.
I rock with the
Peas
mushrooms,
and onions.
Kimmy.
Okay. Peas, and again, it's a texture thing. I don't know. It's like the consistency. I can't. It'd be like rubbery and like anyways.
I have one texture problem because I'm not a texture guy, but and this happens in some Indian dishes. Do not put nuts in my food.
Yeah. That's how we got
it.
That's how Kimmy and I started talking about it. I don't want to tell Kimmy's business, but that's how we got talking about the foods, right? We were talking about like allergies and different dietary restrictions, and I was just saying, like, you still have like, there still are a lot of options for food, right, without nuts when it comes to Indian cuisine. And I think maybe there's, I don't know, because I don't know if a lot of people think that there are a lot of nuts in Indian cuisine just because of what we have here in the West. Because again, a lot of like the Indian food, look, no shade. I don't be trying to shade white people. I really don't. But it's just interesting, like when you hear them talk, because they really think they be doing something, because they're like, oh, Indian food is my favorite. And then the Indian food they're eating is like really westernized, like really bland Indian food compared to like how Indian food actually is, right? So I don't know if that's a substitute. That was kind of my guess. If anybody out there knows who's familiar with Indian cuisine, if when they use nuts, specifically like tree nuts in Indian cuisine, is that like a substitute for something, or are there just a lot of dishes with nuts in them, or I don't know. Let me know.
And I mean, that's just not specific to them either, because I know if you get certain regular Asian restaurants too, a lot of them like to do a fried rice with nuts. I don't like that either. I've had one where they made the fried rice in a pineapple and then had nuts in it, and I hated it so much.
Yeah, I can do fried rice with pineapple, but I don't want nuts in it. It's just like I don't like fruits in my salad besides tomatoes. Okay, so wait. Okay, so Indian says you can tell my business. My experience with Indian food is Americanized with lots of nuts, which I'm allergic to. Okay, so yeah, so that's what Kimmy was saying, was that she's allergic to tree nuts, so she can't eat a lot of Indian food. And I immediately was like, what? No, you can. There's plenty of Indian food you can eat. What are you talking about? And I think it's just because of like the Americanized versions that we get here in the West. Because like Eric said. I was just about to click on that comment. Cashews are used very heavily in the creamy sauces in India, in Indian cuisine. Yes, that's what I was gonna say. It's a lot of the sauces that they're used in. Now that's different. Now if they're used like where they're ground up and they're used to make a sauce, that's different. But if they're just like, don't just be sprinkling nuts on my food like that, bro. Like I don't. That's not how I like my nuts. I like my nuts. Never mind. Okay. Yep. I thought California loved teas and lattes. Maybe, I mean, teas, I guess, but not like sweet tea. Sweet tea is real specific.
That's an us thing. That's a
southern thing. That's a southern thing. California teas and lattes. I mean, we rock with our coffee out here, especially Pete's. Like, I know a real coffee drinker when they're like, oh yeah, I drink Pete's, or Pete's is my favorite, or they're drinking what's it called, coffee beans, anything other than Starbucks. Teas and lattes. I haven't heard that stereotype, but maybe it's I mean, I won't say it's Starbucks true, but I would say maybe that is a stereotype.
Overpriced.
Starbucks is disgusting, first of all. The coffee tastes like dirt. Most of it. I mean, some of them are better. I have had a couple that I'm like, all right, this is cool, but for the most part, Starbucks tastes like dirt. And I
even here in Colorado, they have another local place called Dutch Bros that is far superior.
Dutch Bros, yeah. Yep. Oh, this is one thing that I was gonna say. Now we were talking about it being tough to find different foods, like if you have dietary restrictions in the US, because we were talking about stereotypical American food, right? And a lot of it is meat heavy, like meat heavy. Now, here's the thing that folks really should understand about America. Very few things about America are not directly related to capitalism or white supremacy or industry, things of that nature, right? So one of the reasons this country is so meat heavy is the same reason this country, we still have adults out here drinking cow's milk willingly and by choice, right? Like human adults drinking cow's milk, right? It's because of industry. It's because you have do you remember when kale got real popular for a second?
Yeah.
Like nobody was eating kale, and then all of a sudden kale was so nutritious. Everybody needed kale. Kale is not even the most nutritious greens. It's one of the least. It was just a
garnish for a while.
Because it's one of the least nutritious greens out there. But PR, people need to start selling kale. How do we do that? We got to market it. Everything is about marketing.
We did the same thing with black charcoal.
Yes, they did the same thing with charcoal. So like everything out here is about marketing. So like again, a lot of America and then people. A lot of the issue is that like the people with the power, the people, that top percent of the people who are sort of have the purse strings on capitalism, they be so unwilling to change. Like I wish they would just get with the program sometimes, right? Like the folks that are in oil, still trying to keep us in the dark ages in terms of like energy and like stuff. Like just get with the program, just switch, just evolve with the times, right? But they can't do that, so they want to keep pushing it and pretending like we must have gas cars and same thing with food, cow's milk. When you start seeing commercials for happy cows in California and dairy and cheese and I love cheese as much as the next person, maybe even more, but there's no reason full-grown adults need to be drinking cow's milk. If you want to, fine. But like the idea that it's so healthy and that we need it past a certain age is just wild. But the way that it works
Why
in
the
the
baby
US
cows
is
don't need it no more then?
But the way that it works in the US is it's what's popular and what's pushed is not based on what's good for us and what's best for the people. It's based on what's going to make the people with the purse strings the most money, right? And so yeah. So when you talk about things like, because now we're going to get to the who has the best barbecue, which region has the best barbecue. When I was living on the East Coast, I've lived in 7 different cities in the US. When I was living on the East Coast, it was a lot easier to find pork-free, beef-free options. So I was living in Delaware near Philly, like 20 minutes from Philly, and there's a huge Muslim population out there, Black Muslims too, right? And so they don't eat pork. And so that means the McDonald's out there had turkey options. In places, I've never seen a McDonald's with a turkey bacon option or a turkey sausage option or a non-pork, a
The
non-beef
McDonald's in
option.
Poland is completely healthy.
I believe it, right? Like, so there are places in the US that do have some alternatives, but it's only because the demographic demands it, right? And this is where, again, I'm going to make this connection back to faith. It seems like that's the only time that those demands are respected is when it's connected to faith, right? Because if you just have a group of people that are saying like, I'm going gluten-free, I'm doing gluten-free, well, then it kind of gets made fun of. Nobody's taking it seriously. Oh, you're weak, or you're this, that, and the third. But then if you say, oh, I don't eat pork because of my religion, then it's like, all right, we'll cater to that.
Never mind the fact
that
a significant amount of people actually do have celiac disease. There's a lot of people that have
it's a very
gluten
real
issue,
thing,
and it's extremely underdiagnosed in African Americans because we think it's just a white people disease.
A lot of things are underdiagnosed in African Americans for a number of reasons.
And
but
the
absolutely.
funny thing is, the thing that it gets mixed up with often, which is funny because it's another thing that they think a lot of times we have often, celiac disease is often mixed up with IBS. How many people out there thinking that they have IBS when it's actually celiac?
Okay, now that I didn't know. Now the only reason I know celiac disease is a thing is because I had a friend. She was like acting as our tour manager when we were touring one summer, who has celiacs, and that's when she first told me about it. And this was before like the gluten-free thing became more popular. And that's also why I'm not always mad about food trends, right? A lot of times it's an opportunity for us to learn, for us to try new things, do different things. So I'm not usually too upset about food trends. I just hate when they lie to us. Like, you're not gonna sit here and tell me kale is the most nutritious green. Like, you're not about to do that. You're not about to have me sitting here eating garnish, eating basically paper, trying to tear up my gums over something that's not even nutritious because you need to sell more kale. You have an overabundance of kale and now you need Americans to eat it. No, we're not doing that.
Seaweed, if you want to go with it. Seaweed's a lot tastier.
Good luck. You gotta get the white people on board with that first. Let's see. Guinea pigs love kale. It's a really good source of vitamin C. I'm gonna take your word for it. I believe you. There's always alternative ways. Especially North Punjabi food has so many options, but it's up to that person who's making that. I believe that. I need to try new things. I feel like LANGAR. Huh?
I'm obsessed with naan, but I'd like to learn how to make it because I don't know.
I love naan. Now that's something I would be willing to learn how to make. I love naan. Okay, so before we answer this, maybe I don't know if we should answer before. Okay, let's talk about which region has the best barbecue. Let's knock this out. Eric wants to know which region of the U.S. has the best barbecue. It's a controversial question. I don't know if we're gonna agree or disagree. Now, I need to preface this by
you already
saying,
know we're not going to agree because you know where I'm from.
oh, right. Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna preface this by saying I don't eat pork. One, didn't always abstain from pork, but I had my gallbladder removed, and it's a long story. But pork is it's a lot better if I don't eat pork.
That grease, yeah.
My body appreciates it because it will run right through me. I will be in the middle of my meal and have to go to the bathroom. So I tend not to eat pork. Having said that, especially because it's not a religious decision, I do make one exception, or I have historically made one exception, and that is for the best barbecue in the world. I have described this in the past as Jesus's ribs. Jesus's actual ribs. Like, I don't know. I will put my life on this. I will put my life on this. And again, I'm not a foodie. I'm not. I promise you I'm not. But the way that my dad makes these ribs, I will put my life on the line. Like I would lay down my life and say, you know what? On my life, on God, on my mama, these are the best ribs in America. Like I would say that. And now some people are going to disagree because preference and taste, and that's fine. But I don't think anybody would say they're not good or they're not one of the best, right? I've never, ever, 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 ever in my life had somebody try my dad's ribs and say, oh, no, I disagree, right? Like everybody has been like, oh, no, I see why you say that, right? Even if it's not their favorite because they have preferences, they've been like, oh, yeah, no, these are damn good. Now, having said that, my dad thinks he's a chef, right? He thinks he's an international chef. So again, we had a lot of different cuisines growing up. It got to the point where my dad was one of the first people I know that fried turkey, because, you know, turkey for Thanksgiving, usually like bacon or whatever. He was one of the first people I know that actually fried the turkey in peanut oil. It
Oh, and
got
it's
to
so
the
good.
point that more people from the church, more people, our neighbors, people started having his fried turkey and then asking him to make their fried turkey, right? And it got so popular, like so many people started asking that he has a system now. You have to place an order by a certain time. I don't know that he even charges for this. I think like you just have to pay for the food itself, but I don't think he's charging for like his labor or anything like that. So you have to place your order by a certain time. And, you know, I would wake up a couple days before Thanksgiving, and in the kitchen there's all these lined up turkeys with labels and this and that, and it's got the weight on it, and it's got this, and he injects it with the thing. He's playing surgery. It looks like an operating room for turkeys. That's what it looks like. Okay, our whole bottom floor. But I ain't gonna front, the turkey is amazing. I don't even like turkey like talking about, but the fried turkey is amazing. That's the same level that his ribs is on. Okay. So having said that, I am picky, but this might be surprising. I'm not going to disagree with you too much about particular region having the best barbecue, because I would say Texas. Actually, I don't know. I don't actually know that I can confidently say another region does it better than Texas.
Okay, so we do agree. I'll say this.
Because what other region would you say? You know, because I feel like any other region you might say, like they might have their take on it, they might have their spin on it, but like, oh, I guess people might say like Tennessee up there.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. A lot of people try to say Memphis and all that, and it's because there's definitely different styles. But
That's what
here's
it
the
is.
funny thing. Because before I did what I did now,
I don't think Memphis barbecue is better than Texas.
I don't
Though.
agree. I don't either. I agree. And see, funny thing, when I was a groomer, a dog groomer before, for a while, the lady that taught me, my mentor, she was from Memphis. And so we had a discussion about it when I went down to visit. But she's lived quite a few the rest of her life in her older years in Texas. And even she agreed with me. She's like, yeah, you know, you got to try our barbecue. But she's like, but yeah, I agree with you. It's better in Texas. There are some folks that some people's style is the sauce and everything else like that. See, what I love
You know
about
what I think you
Texas
can what
barbecue,
determines a good barbecue
it
is
don't need no sauce.
that's the part I was gonna say. That's why I was pausing and really trying to think, because that's the thing to me. Because I can eat my dad's barbecue. I don't need no sauce. Mind you, my dad makes sauce from scratch. To be clear, we're not buying sauce from the store. I don't know when the last time I had barbecue sauce from the store. Matter of fact, when I have to have barbecue sauce from somewhere else, I'm like, what is this? Ew. My dad makes the barbecue sauce from scratch, right? And it goes perfectly. It complements perfectly all the seasonings that he's used, the dry rub, the marinade. It complements it perfectly. It's like a full package, right? And I think that's one reason it's so amazing. But it's amazing without the sauce. When you can eat barbecue just dry, just raw, not dry, but like no sauce, naked barbecue, that's when you know it's good.
And see,
And I think
that's
the other
also
places like
good.
Memphis, Louisiana, all those other, I think the flavor is mostly in the sauce.
Exactly.
And
And
that's
that's what they've been
fine.
exposed to. And their sauces are good,
They are good. But we asked who had the best barbecue, not who had the best barbecue sauce. Oh,
hello. Because see, when I had some at one of the popular restaurants there, because you know, now I will say this as a foodie, one thing that we can definitely do too, a lot of times we can taste certain things and tell certain things. Them ribs that I had were boiled, and then they put sauce on them.
Where was this?
It's one of the popular off their strip there in Memphis.
No,
One of
oh,
their most
Memphis. That's I
popular.
didn't hear what you said. Boiled.
They boiled it a little bit. They might have got a little bit of smoke to it or something, but you could tell that it was boiled. They
Oh no,
probably
we
might
don't
have
do
thrown it
that.
on there just a little bit to get the smoky flavor, but then
That's like having boiled chicken. I
yeah,
mean, unless you're making a soup or a broth or okay, no, we're not doing boiled barbecue. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. No,
yeah,
we're not doing
no.
that. I'm
So
sorry, we're not doing
no,
that.
you
So no,
listen.
dog.
I have never in my life, growing up, every time my family members have done, my dad, everybody else, I've never used sauce on any of my barbecue ever.
You don't need it. Sometimes I be forgetting about the sauce. I just go start grabbing ribs, you know? I be forgetting. Okay. Let's see. Here's another one. In India, all the big food chains have more veg options than non-veg except KFC. Oh yeah, that makes sense. I was like, except KFC. But yeah, I mean it's a chicken place. That makes sense. But even KFC has non-veg. I mean, has uh what am I trying to say? Like alternatives, if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken.
They do.
Also, fast food tastes different outside of the US.
Yes,
I
it
don't know. I'm not
does.
gonna say better or worse. I think it's just different. And because I wasn't expecting it, I think it really threw me off because I had it because I was like, because you know, sometimes you just like, oh, a comfort food, like something I'm used to. Oh, cool, I'm familiar with this. And then you go and you're like, oh, okay. And you eat it and you're like, what is that? What does that taste?
Yeah,
What was that? So that was my experience. So now
yeah.
and the same thing happened with Chinese food. Chinese food in India. Never mind. I don't want to be insulting, but that's not okay. That's unacceptable. The Chinese food that's in India is unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
I
It's
don't like KFC.
unacceptable.
I don't like
I don't love
KFC,
KFC either. The only thing
but
I'm gonna eat from KFC is their famous mashed potato bowl, and I think that has to do with the fact that I like all my foods mixed together. I think that's why I
yeah,
love salads, like my mashed potatoes, my corn. It has all the stuff that I really really love. The corn is like my favorite vegetable. All and you just mix it together. Like I'm not somebody who
see,
needs my stuff
I
separate.
don't
Just put
like
it
them.
together.
I don't
Somebody
like
made the
them.
mashed potato bowl for me.
But in Poland, I demolished some KFC.
Yeah, I believe it.
I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know
yeah.
what it is about certain areas over there. And maybe it's
Hey,
because they don't put all the crap that goes into our food in their food.
yeah, I think that's what it is. To be honest, I think it's healthier. I think it's the healthy. I think it's the healthier aspect that makes it taste funny. We're just not used to it. Now, tell me this: fried chicken. Do you think that there's a particular region or area that does fried chicken better than another? Because here's the other thing I'm gonna say. Um, the folks that rival Black Americans in fried chicken is Asian Americans
Koreans,
or Asians in general, Koreans
but
for
specifically
sure.
Koreans.
Koreans, but also Chinese folk. Like
I was about to
they
say New
they
York
can do
probably has the best
they can
fried
do
chicken.
fried chicken. Really, New York? Okay, okay. I didn't see that coming. Okay, I'm gonna take your word for that. I don't really eat fried chicken like that, like talking about. So I don't really know, but I know I want it crispy, not like KFC fried chicken. I like it crispy, but I don't really love fried chicken like that. So it's cool. I mean, I'll eat it if it's there, but I don't really love it. But I would say that in terms of like spice and flavor and like crispiness and texture and done really well, Asians, like East Asians
Yeah,
specifically, Korean
yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
They do it really well. Filipinos too,
yeah.
the Filipino cuisine is one that I can't. Aside from the fact that there's a lot of pork in Filipino cuisine, if you can substitute the pork for something, which it does sometimes change the flavor. I'm not gonna lie, but if you can substitute the pork, I can't go wrong with Filipino cuisine. I'm not gonna front. And then Mexican, I think I take that for granted because I grew up around it. You know, it's like my neighbor across the street was Mexican. We exchanged food all the time.
Ooh, give me some
My neighbor
pozole.
next door is
Ooh.
Mexican. I got one of her dishes from New Year's in my refrigerator right now. So I think I take it for granted. I can sometimes forget about Mexican food and because there's not an overabundance because there's an abundance of Mexican food. And I mean good Mexican food. Like we're not talking about Chipotle. That's different. That's like saying Taco Bell. We're not talking about that. I'm talking about like Mexican food. Again,
Yep.
I'm 2 minutes from Mexico. Not really, I'm about 2 hours, but I'm literally about 2 hours from the Mexican border. I'm in a very, very brown neighborhood.
Okay.
There is an abundance of Mexican food. So my standards and expectations for Mexican food is really high, but because there's like an abundance of it, I can't take it for granted sometimes. So I gotta be mindful of that because every now and then I will go somewhere else and have Mexican food and be like, is this what y'all have for Mexican food?
So
I'm so
rule of
sorry.
thumb for me, and I do this with anytime that I want a specific culture of food. because of the fact that I've always known and always observed that for most of our other communities, specifically non-white, we take a lot of pride in our food. So what I look to is when I walk in this
Not you
restaurant,
segueing us to the wrap up like you was reading my mind. Go ahead though. I see you.
when
Go
I
ahead.
walk into this restaurant, I need to see the people there.
Mm.
Because if I go to a Jamaican restaurant, ain't no Jamaican there. If I go to a Mexican restaurant and they not eating that, then it ain't good.
Oh, you
Because
mean
see,
like
we're so
the
proud
people
of
eating
our
the food?
food.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
we're proud of
yeah,
our
yeah,
food.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
for
it
sure.
needs to remind, if I'm going to a Mexican restaurant, to them it needs to remind them or come close to abuelas. If it don't, then no.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Um, so I'm gonna say this last call, not last call, but anybody out there who knows anything about Indian cuisine, I do follow a few Indian food creators. Anybody who knows anything about Indian cuisine, please let me know. Um, I
Give
really
us
wish
some
I could find this.
suggestions.
I
I'll go
really
out and
wish I could.
try it.
Yeah, I want to find this reel right quick. We're gonna wrap up here in a second, but here's one of the things that I was gonna say. So what does food? We've been talking a lot about food, and we knew this was going to be a pretty much just a chill conversation. Like not one of our organized like discussions, deep
Hmm.
discussions. But um, what does food have to do with faith and or faith practice and or religion and culture? Right, like an intersection there that is like when all those things cross, when all those things meet, that is really really beautiful. That is really really awesome. And it makes me wonder, like I said about being on the East Coast, right? And then them respecting, because again there's power in numbers, right? So you have Muslims all over the country, but that doesn't mean you're going to get McDonald's and other food places catering to the Muslim diet or the dietary restrictions, right? But because there's so many Muslims on the East Coast or in that region of the East Coast, they sort of don't have a choice, right? It's similar to, this might be an awful example, but it's kind of like when it comes to makeup for dark skinned people, right? When makeup companies come out with a new foundation, for example.
I mean, dang near to your point, in Dubai, dang near everything, every restaurant, dang near is halal.
Right. So there's a lot of like power numbers. So when it comes to culture, I think that's why a lot of this stuff is important for us to like keep a lot of these cultural norms and these important things and these important aspects of our culture alive, right? Because there is power in number. And so like similar to what I was saying, like when it comes to makeup, a lot of times makeup companies will say goofy stuff like, "Oh, well, we don't sell a lot of our darker shades," and it's like, bitch, you got 3 dark shades. Of course you don't sell a lot of them. Like half the people with dark skin can't get a shade, right? Or for example, they'll say like they'll come out with like 30 shades and like 3 are for people my complexion or darker, right? And then like 25 of them are like for light skinned people, right? And I
Hmm.
think the same is true when it comes to like to when it comes to food. Like a lot of times they will say that the numbers aren't there, or that it doesn't make sense monetarily or financially, it doesn't make sense. But um that doesn't seem to be an issue when it comes to, again, numbers and religion, right? So if a Muslim says, or just like if you go into a restaurant and you say, "Oh, I don't eat pork," um or "I don't eat pork for religious reasons," that's taken much more seriously than "I just don't like pork," or "I just don't want to have it because I'm not healthy." Or I don't know what another example is, but you see what I'm saying? Like there's this level of sort of like importance and seriousness that comes along with it being part of somebody's faith practice. um
Well,
which I think is valid.
kind of segue, but similar topic on something we talked about on our show before. Similar thing is like even with workplace stuff as it relates to being a sick and growing facial hair, beards, stuff like that, or even in the military. Whereas a person, we already know, like we mentioned before, that African Americans generally can have a higher preponderancy for PFB,
Right, right,
but
right.
a lot of times that's not seen or handled as quickly. As it would be, to have objection on some of these things based on religion alone. A
Hmm,
lot of
hmm.
times that's going to be taken a lot more seriously than people, because while the organization itself will observe it, you'll notice that if it's religion, nobody else, no other soldiers, no one in your leadership, no one will say anything if it's religious. But if you
Mm-hmm.
have a medical reason, your exemption is for medical reasons. Everybody like, oh, he just got this because such and such.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
he can't just shave like everybody else. He think he's special.
I find the same thing to be true with food, and I think a lot of it has to do with food allergies, and I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of people lying these days about food allergies, which a lot of people don't understand. While you think it's innocent, while you think it no harm, no foul, when you lie about like medical issues
Right.
or food allergies or whatever, it actually does, right? You get caught in a lie or you say something that's an obvious lie, because a lot of times when people lie about stuff, they're not really good at it.
Mhm.
They'll say stuff that doesn't make sense, right? But then that person can't necessarily call them out on it. So then you just go around saying this thing, thinking you sound legit, but everybody knows you're lying. And so I will just say that when you lie about food and food allergies and things like that, it does harm other people. But
Mhm.
one of the easy ways is to, or one of the ways that it's taken seriously is when it comes to religion. However, what happens if they don't see you as part of that religion? So if I say, oh yeah, I don't eat pork for religious reasons, which is not why I don't eat pork, but if I say I don't eat pork for religious reasons or whatever, and they say, oh, Muslim, and I say, oh no, I'm sick, and they're like, what, are you sure you're sick? And I'm like, no, for real, I'm sick. Or, and that's not an example I would usually use, because that's not why I don't eat pork. But
I mean, I got a friend that's similar to that. I got a I got a friend that has a similar thing to that because I don't really know exactly how he tries to classify himself, because technically he's not he's not, I guess you wouldn't say that he's Jewish per se, but he says that he does follow the Torah.
now speaking
But
of, I got
mhm.
a quick, go ahead, I'm gonna let you finish,
And
because
with
it
that,
kind of ties into
he
that.
also does not eat he doesn't eat pork, and so that's one of those things too where even going in and stuff like that he had to go through, he's not necessarily taken seriously.
Yeah. Okay, so this is something that editor Nuv, for those of you who don't know Nuv the poet, and I were talking about, is the term ethno-religion. I think this actually kind of ties into it. And there's a couple definitions. There doesn't seem to be a consensus for the term ethno-religion, so we're still trying to like debate that. We're over in the Black and Sikh Discord debating what an ethno-religion is and if Sikhi is considered an ethno-religion. Because I would think it is, but then some people say it's not because it's, blah blah blah. But the this is kind of where like
But it
food,
seems like it's very
that it is an
intertwined.
ethno-religion, right? It
Yeah.
does. And I guess it depends on which definition of ethno-religion you go with. But based on the one that I've heard and that I've been using and that I learned from Rupa. If you don't know Rupa, you should follow Rupa. Oh, I wish I knew Rupa's handle. I wish I had like a Rolodex of people's usernames. But she's on TikTok and on Instagram, and she talks about like ethno-religion and things of that nature, and that's really kind of where I first learned the term. But I think it is, and I think the food conversation is kind of proof of that, right? Like,
Yep.
there are some things that the religion says, that the faith says you do and don't do, which is again staying away from the ritualistic meat, killing meat that's ritualistically killed or prepared. um but a lot of that like culture sort of like flows into it, right? Like a lot of the way that Sikhi was designed and I guess developed is a better word, by the gurus, by Guru Nanak and all the following gurus, it has a lot to do with Indian culture. It has a lot to do with South Asian culture, and food is not exempt from that. I think food actually plays a big part. And so yeah, the langar, when we have langar at the ashram that I go to, at the gurudwara I go to, meat is not served. They don't serve meat. It's all veg, or I don't know if veg is the right word, but it's non-meat basically.
Same thing with the
Um,
one in Denver.
okay, yeah, it's all. Is there a good war out there that serves meat? I'd be surprised. I'd kind of be surprised if there is. Um, but here's my
I
question
thought
to you.
general rule they didn't, just to respect everybody.
That's why I said I would be surprised if there was. Um, Let me see. Indian cuisine is so vast that even after living in India for more than 28 years, there are still hundreds of dishes which I have not tried. Every state has its own unique dishes. That to me is a great summary of Indian cuisine. Like that is a really great summary. And here's why I'll say that. One, absolutely true. Indian cuisine is so vast that after living in India for more than 28 years, there are still hundreds of dishes which I have not tried. Yes, a lot of it has to do with just the sheer number of people that are in India, but also, yeah, each region does have its own thing, and that's why it took me going over there. I went there thinking, oh, I don't really like Indian food. I don't know how I'm gonna survive these 2 weeks. I'll figure it out. But being pleasantly surprised because yeah, I don't know if there's any way to try every Indian dish. Like you cannot, it's just not possible, right? But there's so many options. And if you watch any of the Indian food creators, I wish I knew their names off top. But if you watch any of the Indian food creators, you cannot help but to learn about Indian culture while you're watching the food that they prepare and while you're watching them talk about their food. It is so intertwined with the culture.
Well,
And
that's
I
like,
don't know if that's the
right.
case for every culture, which was gonna be my sort of like segue into like my final question for you is I guess for both of us is, and for anybody listening, the importance is to talk about the importance and the significance of food and cuisine with culture. And then as a byproduct, faith, especially when you're talking about Sikhi and religion, but not just Sikhi, even again, Christianity. We started off talking about Christianity having repasts and having food after Sunday service or having breakfast after Bible study or after Sunday service for the kids and food, like communing, that communal time, that time to come together and eat and break bread over a meal. I know it's super important. It's so important that growing up, I would hear my mom or other people say things like, oh, I mean, I don't, I don't hate them, but I'm not gonna break bread with them.
Yeah.
Using that term to really explain a relationship that you have to that person, because breaking bread with somebody is a big deal. Having somebody over to your house, making them a meal, sharing a meal with that person, it's a big deal for some cultures.
See, I
Not
was
all,
about to
but
say
for
that.
some.
I was about to say that. I think that's one of the major parallels for us, for them, and as well as I'd say even the Latino community, because I remember growing up a lot. It's a huge thing where the service aspect of Sikh, we don't normally word it that way, but it's the same thing in the Black community. I'm cooking and Big Mama put for like they said, Big Mama put her foot in it. For people
Hmm.
that don't get that term, that pretty much means that she really did it. It's really good, but it's like
Hmm.
you got together and you saw that you put your love in the food that you're
Hmm.
giving. It
It's an
is
expression of love.
it's an expression of love.
And that's why
So
you don't
it's
break bread with
service.
everybody, right? Exactly.
Exactly. And
Exactly.
so sometimes friends of the family friends of the family that have, are actually considered part of the family too. They come in, everybody, because in fact, once you're in, hey, a lot of somebody gonna be offended if you don't grab a plate.
Right. So you hear this a lot. Again, I watch nothing but YouTube for the most part these days, and a lot of this has to do with I just feel like I learn so much. But you hear a lot about Asians talking about how their parents or their family members, they don't say I love you, they show their love through food.
Mhm.
And whether you're a words of affirmation or an acts of service person or whatever, I think that is the case in a number of cultures, right? You show your love through food, but not just your
Mhm.
love, your respect, right? And
Mhm.
again, that's why you can't break bread with everybody. That's why you don't have everybody over at your table. And I've had some people say, well, food is important. Food is important to every culture. It's important to every,
It's
and I
not.
don't think that that's the case, right? Because growing up, I remember going to a neighbor's house. And again, growing up in the Bay Area, I grew up in a very I grew up in a cul-de-sac in the suburbs, right? So you had a Black family, across the street was a Mexican family, to the right down there was a Filipino family, then we had a white family. It was literally that diverse, right? Because sometimes I'll say diverse and people think I just mean like black and white. I mean, like, it was literally multiple cultures, right? And I remember going to a neighbor's house and sitting down and eating. I was young, and all the neighbors played together, and I'm eating. Luckily, the meal had just started, but I'm eating, and a little hot dog hops on the table, and by hot dog, I don't mean the food that you eat. I mean dachshund hot dog, a
Little wiener
dog,
dog. Yeah.
a wiener dog hopped on the table and began to eat out of
Oh
the
hell no.
plates.
Oh
And I
hell no.
immediately stopped eating. I immediately,
Oh hell
no
no.
appetite, not hungry anymore. I could not, I was like, what is happening here? That was clearly very normal for them. And I didn't know what to do. I couldn't, of course, I can't eat anymore. And again, I'm a little kid. I don't really know any better at this time. I had not yet learned the lesson. I went home so fast. I told my mom what happened. And my mom said, "You don't eat at everybody's house?" I said, "Well, when was you going to tell me this? Now, you know, I done grew up around these people. You didn't tell me that. You know, you got a dog on it." Because again, for some people, for some cultures, for some family, food and breaking bread is a sacred time. And maybe you have your dog with you. If you do, that's cool. But I'm not eating with the dog on the table. I'm not doing that. But more importantly, it's so important that like
Heck, we don't even do that as Black pet owners because both of my dogs are trained. They already know they can come and they'll stare at me. Sometimes if I'm cooking or something,
I've never seen a black pet in the kitchen.
hello, because my dogs know that there's a barrier right there. They can stand just outside that barrier. They know they're not allowed to come in.
Yeah, because it's an expression of love, but it's also an expression of respect, right? You know, even my mom's, and I think it's interesting because she hates cooking. My mom does not like cooking, and yet she's on the bereavement committee, and she's somebody who is responsible for helping to prepare the meals for somebody when somebody passes away, for a funeral, for whatever, right? And I think that really just speaks to just how important food and partaking in food and breaking bread is for some cultures. And I think Black American culture is one of those cultures, and I think Indian culture is another one of those cultures. Well, I think Asian cultures in general is another one of those cultures where that's how you express your love, right? That's how you express, you know, how many times have we seen the meme where your mom is mad at you or your mom has just yelled at you, and instead of apologizing, she's just like, "You want something to eat?" Or "I got you something to eat." And it's, you know, I've had, my granny has done that. Me and my granny get into it, and then we not talking for a minute, and then next thing I hear, "It's some food in there on the counter for you," you know, and I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Well, I just went and got you some, or I just made you some of this." And it's like, it's your way of saying sorry. It's your way of saying, "Hey, let's come back together." It's just so important. Like, so much can be communicated through food without any words whatsoever, right?
That's
And
what I experienced that first time at the Grouard too in Denver. It's kind of like, to be quite honest, it's like their way of trying to welcome. Honestly, I could feel that because they were trying to feed me. They were coming with everything. I don't know what this is, don't know what that, but they wanted to make sure that I ate. You know.
yeah, and this is what, you know, and I'm gonna ask for some advice from any Indian folks listening, from any Sikh folks listening. I'm gonna ask for some advice, right? Because I completely understand the importance and the significance of food and breaking bread when it comes to culture, when it comes to religion, when it comes to respect, when it comes to building relationship and building community and being in a community with other people. And I don't really like food, right? And so sometimes I can feel like I miss out, right? Like, it's a lot easier, you know, it's easy when somebody's like, "Oh, you want to go on a date?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but don't take me to a restaurant." Okay, cool. But if somebody's like, "Oh, come meet my family over dinner," and then now it's like, "Oh dear, what do I do?" Right? So here's my question. Any advice that I could use? What's the best way to handle that? Understanding and knowing that food is important, understanding the importance of it, the importance of food to culture, to religion, to families, to people, especially Big Mom and them, to auntie, to all. Now mind you, South Asians and Indian folks, they say auntie. We also say auntie in the Black community. That's another like parallel we have. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but like I've had a couple like South Asian people explain it to us. Like, we call everybody auntie and uncle. And I'm like, yeah, we do too. Yeah, like
Yeah.
you don't just call adults by their first name. That's not how it works. Like, you can say Miss or Mister, but if you know them, then it's auntie this and uncle that or whatever.
If your friends got kids, then you uncle or auntie.
Right. I'm somebody's auntie. And the thing is, for us, I will say, I think for like South Asians, for Indians, it is more of an age thing. So like, you're not an auntie until like you reach a certain age, whereas for us, you just need to be a certain age older than the person, right? Like, like I've been an auntie since I was a kid. Like, I've been somebody's auntie since I was a kid because I was older. I was far enough older than that person that's what you would call me. You wouldn't call me, and I'm maybe not a kid, but like a teenager, right? And so if there's a little child, you say Auntie Cameron, Auntie, right? So we do that too. So then my question would be like, how do you do that? Like, how, without like disrespecting somebody or being rude? Like, what's the best way to handle that? Like, I don't want to eat. Like, I don't want to eat your food, or do I just eat it and like suffer through it? Like, a lot of times I try to avoid it. I feel like there's a lot of like, I don't know. I feel like I would know the members of my boudoir a lot better if I went to LANGAR on a regular basis, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't, because I don't want the food and I don't want to sit there and then they keep trying to serve me over and over. Because one thing I know, you can sit there without food, but if you sit there without food, somebody gonna keep trying to bring you food, and then you got to keep turning them down and saying, I don't want no food, and they're like, why don't you want food? And then that becomes a whole thing. So then I stopped going to LANGAR, but then that means you stop being in community with other people, because food is such this central aspect of community and culture, and faith is so important. It's so significant. And so my question would be, how do you handle that? What do you do? What do you do if you don't like
I
food?
personally, because I've been in settings where there, and not at the longer hall, but I've been in settings like that where there were certain things where I knew there wasn't much that I liked just because of the way that things were prepared. Personally, I always like to find at least one or two things that I do like. And
Yeah,
I will just emphasize on and I will probably exaggerate how
that's
much I
smart.
love that one thing.
That's smart.
So you can keep bringing me that because I like that.
That's smart, because you're right. There is usually at least one or two things that I like. It's usually some type of like a solid something. Um, once it's been like a samosa or something. But so you're right. I could try that. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. All right, let me see. Yin Yang says, Yin Yang, are you a convert? Do we know each other? Who is this? Ethno religions can definitely play on the psyche for those who don't share that ethnic group. Converting can be difficult. Yeah. This is something I wish we had Stormer here to talk about this, because Stormer talks about a lot about sort of having to play sort of like be a part of two communities and two cultures at the same time. I don't think that that's an issue that I have, but I do agree that ethno religions can definitely, it can mess with you. You constantly have to try to find that line so you're not participating in cultural appropriation. So you know what's culture, what's faith, what's religion, what's whatever. And I think that's the good thing about food. Food is one of those safe places, one of those safe things, as long as you like food. Or you can do like Ray just said and latch on to the one food thing, and which is, I think that's gonna be my new trick from now on. But yeah, food tends to be that like safe thing, the one thing that we don't got to fight about, for real, for real. We can come together, we can be in community with each other. And I didn't want to get too, I could have taken in this direction, because I did, when I was doing some research and I was pulling up some resources and trying to figure out where to take this conversation. Of course, talking about slavery, that comes up, right? That's a huge part of it, because again, that's how soul food came to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's Black American culture was born out of something really horrible, really negative. And so we could talk about that all day long, but I didn't really want to focus on that too much. But I think it is important to sort of like acknowledge that history and acknowledge that like food has been such a staple part of our cultures.
You
And it
know,
it's one of the things that South Asians, especially Indians, and Black Americans have in common, is
I
the
think
importance
that
and significance of
not
food and
in
culture
this
and
one,
religion.
but I think we probably at some point should probably go down that rabbit hole too, because
Absolutely.
one of the things that I've ran into and I've seen in conversing with people specifically online, and a lot of people from a lot of other cultures, generally don't really have a good understanding of that history at all. And so then they enter in conversations of certain things and really don't get it. And a lot of times they're very susceptible to some of the same racist arguments and stuff that are made by white supremacists who push forth
Like
certain things
when you
because
have
of the fact that
dietary
that's the information they're given.
yeah, like when you have dietitians or nutritionists or whatever who constantly vilify I hate calling it ethnic foods, but like Asian foods and Black foods and African foods, right? Constantly talking about this is not as healthy, swap it with this.
Bruh.
Don't eat this, eat this instead. I'm like,
Especially African.
it sounds like you want our diet to be as bland and as awful as yours, and we're not falling
Especially
for it. We're not
African,
falling for it.
because what
Because, like you
I've
said,
had
Paula
people a
Dean, y'all
couple
didn't say nothing
times.
when Paula Dean was using all that damn butter,
Hello,
and
hello.
that's the only thing she flavoring her food with is butter. There's other spices, Paula. You don't have to
Okay,
use all that butter.
okay. Fried green tomatoes that she fried in bacon grease.
Just ridiculous. But anyways, yeah, I think this is a good like starting point, and we can come back and like revisit this conversation, because there's some people that I want to pull. I'm gonna watch this back and take some notes, because there's some other creators that I want to pull. There's a black woman. I can't remember if she's Caribbean, or I can't remember where she's from, but her entire platform is about reclaiming our cultural and ethnic foods, right? Reclaiming foods that America has said are unhealthy, that we need to stay away from, that have said is responsible for obesity. I want to tell you right now, spoiler alert, that's not true. That's not how it works. One, weight and size is largely genetic. They don't want to tell you that it's more genetic than it is lifestyle. But we'll talk about that at another time, because we're not getting into fat phobia today. But the other thing is that they have wanted to blame, heart disease and obesity in the Black community on our foods, on our cultural foods, when it's much more than that, when it's much more political than that, when it's much more nuanced than that, right? When it has to do with a lot of Black Americans living in food deserts. Like I said, why, when I moved to New Orleans, I don't have fresh produce options anymore? Why is the only thing available to me here fast food? Why do I have to travel so far to get decent food, to get healthy food that I don't have to pay an arm and a leg for, and it still be mediocre or half-assed or half dead? Why is that? Right? Like where my granny lives in Oakland right now, there's no major grocery store. I need y'all to hear what I'm saying. Oakland, a major city in the US, a major city in California. There's no grocery store in East Oakland where my granny lives. There's some little convenience shops, some little hole in the wall stores, and they hike up the price
It's
so
like
damn
that
high.
where
It
my
is
it's
ridiculous.
like that where my mom lives in Houston. Now of
Food
course if you
deserts.
drive
Wait,
if you
wait, wait,
drive a
wait, wait,
little
wait, wait,
bit.
wait, 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 wait. Let me
Mhm,
finish. Let me finish what I'm saying,
mhm,
because this is gonna lead right into what you're saying.
mhm,
If you drive, right? Because you do have to travel. So right where she is, not only is it a ghost town because it's being gentrified, there's no food options.
mhm.
Okay. The food options that are there, again, terrible produce,
Mhm.
terrible quality produce, so freaking expensive. And if you want something else, which is night and day from where I grew up in the suburbs, we got 1, 2, 3, like 4 major grocery store chains within 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I can walk to 2 of them.
Mhm.
But you can't do that in East Oakland where my granny lives, which is now considered the hood, right? You can't
Mhm.
do that there. So if you don't have a car, you're
Mhm.
stuck with whatever is in your neighborhood.
Yep.
That's the only thing that you can eat. There's a bunch of fast food options though. We got a Church's chicken, we got a crispy
Yep.
crunch chicken. We got all kind of fast
That's
food
my
options.
mama neighborhood.
All kind of fast food options, but grocery stores, healthy food, not available. If I want to eat something that my granny hasn't prepared, not available. And then it's super expensive. Okay, now let's say you do have a car. Why are gas prices so much freaking higher in the hood than they are in the suburbs?
Yep.
While they're 350 in the suburbs, they 425 in the hood,
Yep.
where people can't afford them. What's happening right now? Like this is by design, right? And so when I say like food is super important culturally, and in terms of it is in more ways than one. And so I wanted to like really paint a picture, because it's not as simple as, oh, our cultural foods are unhealthy. No, that's not what it is. It's not that our cultural foods are just unhealthy. I mean, think about it. If this is the food that our ancestors were eating, and then going out on the field doing this back-breaking labor and back-breaking work, right? Like the food it had to give you some sustenance. It had to be decent on a certain level, right? Like you had to make it work. Anyway,
Well, the
what were you
food's
saying?
changed too, though.
The foods have changed. But what were you going to say about your mom, though?
So my mom's neighborhood is like that too. I remember that growing up, and it wasn't until I got a little bit older that I realized that, because the neighborhood that we were in, so there was one grocery store, but it's quite a bit of ways. I don't know if it was just in Houston. I think it was probably just Texas local, but called Fiesta. But even that, the Fiesta, I would say maybe if you don't have a car and you had to hop on a bus, um, in the area that she was in, you would have had to hop on walk down to where our bus stop was, to the corner of our house, hop on that bus, because the main line, there was a street called Airport. We lived off 2 streets called MLK and Airport. So you'd catch
Speaking of MLK, I got a question. Go ahead.
you had to catch the bus off of MLK, take that all the way downtown to our downtown transit center. So that's way out of the way for a grocery store, by the way, that's actually just right up the street if you have a car. To hop on the next bus that will get you back around to where you could be in the place that again is 15 minutes away in a vehicle.
Well,
But on the bus, you know how long that was going to take you?
but they want to tell us it's
By
our
2
cultural foods,
hours.
though, right? Right. The reason that we're so unhealthy is because our foods are inherently unhealthy. Our dishes are inherently unhealthy. That's what it is. Remember? Get out of here.
And help me understand why in a major city the transit system is that bad.
Oh,
Why
that's a whole
why you
nother.
got to do what? Why you got to do all of that just to get somewhere? Maybe you wonder why these people that's trying to find work and stuff like that can't find work. Well, because you
Yeah.
don't have a reliable, like the jobs legit. I remember that when I first started working out there, the jobs would straight up tell you that, oh, well, if you don't have a car, you don't have a means of reliable transportation. You on the bus, they don't care. They already know that's not reliable. How is that acceptable?
I don't know that it is. I don't know that it is. I yeah, because we could talk about that all day. And I had a point that I was gonna make, and I completely forgot it. All right. So if we're gonna talk about this again, what would you like us to talk about? And is there anybody that's listening now? Is there anything that you want us to cover, or is anybody wants to come on and talk about? Is that an area they put? Is that an area they put a highway in the middle of a thriving Black community? I know the area you're talking about. I don't think that's the same area. Is that the same? Do you know, Ray? The area that do you know what Eric is talking about?
Is that an
They've
area
done
they
this more
put a
than once. But
highway in the
you
middle?
know, there's their neighborhoods like Central Park, for example, used to be a lovely, thriving Black community, and then suddenly they claimed the land and was like, this is now a public park. Or where there was where they built a highway through the middle of a Black neighborhood, a Black community.
They
I don't
did
think that's.
build one over there. I had
Oh,
never
they did.
considered that, but they did. Yeah, there is a major one there that heads from out of Houston into Galveston, 288. So yeah, 288 goes right through there.
Okay. Um, I don't know how to. Oh, see, I'm trying to play this, but I don't know how to play this on Instagram without. I was gonna play y'all Christina's I can't even type. I don't know why I'm trying to type and I can't type. I can't do it right now. I'm just having too many tech issues. But Miss X Tina B, follow her account. She's got some amazing content on there. She's talking about food in the diaspora. Oh, it's nope, that's not it. I thought that was it. If you see any video where she's holding up a laptop, she's doing this like presentation about food, watch that one. Watch it because it's amazing. She talks about different food in the diaspora and the different comparisons and the parallels. And so that's what we'll talk about more. We can get into the history of culture and cuisine, and we can talk about the history of slavery and all that stuff. We can get into that a little bit more. And I don't know if we'll talk about that during the episode where we talk about solidarity. I don't know. But yeah, this is a conversation that was kind of all over the place. Oh, meat in some. Let me finish my thought. This is an episode that was kind of all over the place, but we knew that coming in. We just kind of wanted to have a chill conversation about food. And I thought it would be quite interesting because I had just been talking about food with Kimmy, especially Indian food, and then knowing the significance of food for both of our cultures. I thought was quite. I thought this was going to be an interesting topic, and I just kind of wanted to see what the community had to say about it. And I would love to hear from y'all a little bit more about it. Let's get some final thoughts here. Meat and some Goudoirs thoughts. I don't know. Okay, let me say this with the utmost like gentlest sincerity and peace and love. As somebody who is neurospicy, I be needing people to like be specific and elaborate. I see this a lot on social media where somebody will just like make a statement and then go thoughts, and I'm like, can you be more specific? Like, I don't know what you mean. So meat and some Goudoirs thoughts. Sure, I have probably a lot of thoughts, but what do you mean? Do you mean are there meat in some Gurdwaras? Are you saying there should be meat in some Gurdwaras? The fact that they're like, I don't know. I guess the statement part I don't get. I'm more than happy to give my thoughts, but if you could elaborate a little bit, that would be greatly helpful, majorly helpful for me. I don't know if you're saying there is meat in some Gurdwaras, and what are my thoughts on that, or should there be meat in some Gurdwaras, and what are my thoughts on that, or I don't, if we could,
If I could, I could
please,
at least give some input on what I took from the question and answer it that way.
please, please,
Hopefully,
please.
maybe I'm hitting on what they're asking. So, the concept that I've always had about why most of the time Gurdwaras don't have it is one that's always resonated and made sense to me. And
Mm,
so, for that reason, I would honestly, personally, as a person that does eat meat, I support not having meat in the Gurdwaras because of the fact that yes, there are all these other dishes out there that don't require it, and if we can acknowledge just because see, while it's not required for you to be South Asian or Punjabi in order to be Sikh, that doesn't mean that we completely ignore the fact that a significant amount of the community doesn't. So why not have a food that everyone can eat? Why not have to potentially worry about cross contamination of anything else like that of things that they don't eat? So yeah, for me personally, I think yeah, nah, I think it's just fine the way it is.
yeah. Oh, sorry. There was a time I heard about. Thank you, Kimmy. Sorry, there was a time I heard about a Gurdwara in Manchester that served meat, and I was really surprised. I was wondering if that was unique. That's a good question. I don't know if anybody knows about that. Again, that's my first time hearing about that. I'm not sure if other Gurdwaras do that. Um, I don't know that I have a strong opinion on it one way or another. Again, I am somebody who eats meat but can also do without it. I don't eat a lot of it. In fact, if I'm cooking, chances are I'm probably not gonna add meat to it because I just don't like cooking, and it's just I shouldn't even say cooking. I should say preparing food because I'm very rarely cooking. I will make a salad so fast. So I'm good without it. I'm good with it. Again, I don't have a strong feeling one way or another. If it's something that people feel really strongly about, like, hey, we should not do this. Okay, I don't because my thing is like meat is similar to, and this might be a bad comparison, but like meat to me is similar to like alcohol. Like when somebody's like, oh, I don't drink, like me, I don't drink, right?
I don't drink
But
either.
I don't care if other people drink, and I'm okay with it being in the presence of alcohol. Like I'm okay. But also, if there's an event that is alcohol free, how sometimes people like flip out and be like, "Your wedding is dry. Like this baby shower doesn't have any alcohol," and they get like real mad. Like you see that a lot on Reddit sometimes. Like people will be real upset, and I'm like, "Yo, chill. It's one event with no alcohol. Like I think you'll be all right."
Hmm.
That's kind of how I feel about the meat. Like I don't know that anybody's really pushing for it, and if they are, I feel like you'll be okay without meat for go home and eat meat or go to KFC. Like, I just don't think it's that deep. Um, I don't know. That's just my thoughts. Yeah. Any more thoughts on that or no? We good. I've never heard. Oh wait, we got some responses. Never heard of that. Which Gurdwara do this? Oh, that was the response. There was a Gurdwara in Manchester. I know where it originally comes from because some devout Hindus don't like any food touching meat, so the prep areas. Oh, okay. So Hindus. Wait, what? Okay, well,
Yeah.
here's the thing. So if some people are like, yeah, I don't want my food touching meat, or I don't want the food that I'm going to eat being prepared in a place that meat is. So like my mentor, for example, she doesn't eat meat. She doesn't prepare meat. She will not cook meat. She will not cook in a kitchen where meat is prepared and cooked. Okay. I think that's her choice. Right. So I'm never going to be like, ask for a dish that has meat in it or be mad that she makes me a dish that doesn't have meat. You know what I'm saying? Like I think it's okay. Like it's fine to be like flexible. Um I totally agree with your thoughts. So if they were to visit or attend good touching meat, so the prep areas need that. So if okay, I'm a little confused. I think I'm just reading backwards. But yeah, that's just my general thoughts on that. Anything else? Did I miss anything, Kimmy? Oh, this is one I did miss. For good or real Indian food, you need to find out where the workers get their food. In Punjabi, they call it dabba, dabba. I don't know. Workers. Like what kind of workers though? If
In
the,
the restaurants.
Oh, like the okay. Wait, what? Oh, no, what? Because so you saying like go to a restaurant and find out where. So if I go to an Indian restaurant and the Indian's there, and I'd be like, "Where do you eat food?" What?
Yeah,
What?
where I do that sometimes too,
But
especially
how?
if I'm
But how
visiting
would I
somewhere.
find? So I just walk in a random restaurant and be like, "Hey, where do y'all eat?" And they're gonna tell me a different restaurant.
Well, sometimes if you go in, and you're actually just dining in yourself, because I do that when I'm visiting places. I like to ask the waiters. I ask them about, hey, where do people hang out, or what else is good to eat out here? Get some suggestions and stuff from them.
Okay. Okay, but what if how do I find good Indian food without is there another way to find good Indian food? Like without going in and risking the workers getting fired? Because I would imagine if I go in and be like, okay, this is an Indian restaurant, but where do y'all eat Indian food? Like, where do y'all get y'all Indian food? Like, are they gonna say another restaurant?
I've had experiences where they will.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Y'all, I'm kind of stalling because I'm trying to find this. I'm trying to find this video. I really would love. It's called Death to Diaspora Wars. If you if you're able to find okay, I think I found it, but I don't know how I would play it. I don't know how I would play it though. It's called Death to Diaspora Wars. It's on Christina Brown's. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to find it for you. Maybe we will repost it somewhere. We'll have to hop back on here. I don't know next week if we have a different topic. Because once again we're over time, but really we just sitting here chopping it up. I don't know. We might cut this down. We might not post it. We might post it. Who knows? But if you haven't already, please subscribe on YouTube. That's really the best way to support us. To keep doing what we're doing. We've had to slow down a lot. For a number of reasons. We've had just a lot of like technical difficulties behind. I mean, a lot of just challenges behind the scenes. Also, believe it or not, this project is not free and none of us are rich. And we don't have any funding coming in right now. And so the best way to support is to subscribe on YouTube, is to watch the content on YouTube. So to believe it or not, I actually have a playlist on my personal channel that just says like I forgot what it's called, but it's not just Black and Sick stuff, but it's like any creators that I want to support, right? So one of the creators that I moderate for, Boss Attorney Bree, when she was trying to get her watch hours up, I just used to run her lives or run her videos at night, right? So I would put them on a playlist and I would hit play on the playlist and either put my TV on mute or do it in another room or let it run on my tablet. And I would just let it run because you need a certain number of watch hours. I think we need like 3,000 watch hours to we can get to the point where we're eligible for monetization on YouTube. And we are a long ways away from that. And so the more you can either watch the videos, share the videos, let the videos run. If you're not, in the background while you sleep, whatever you can do, that would be very, very helpful. But that is the best way to support us right now is YouTube. Of course, we appreciate the support on Instagram, on TikTok, anywhere that we are. We're also on Twitter, but not really, or X, which I'm never calling that thing X. But again, the best way is YouTube. You can drop a comment. We're also going to be doing a giveaway here soon. We were actually planning to do it last month, but again, things just keep happening. But I've got a bunch of this is going to sound so random, but I've got a bunch of electronics here for different reasons. One is forgetting to return to Amazon by the date. Like here's an example. Two prime examples. I got a whole oh, this isn't the right box. But anyways, I got like 3 of these. This is an Apple Pencil, y'all. I have an Apple Pencil. I have one that's brand new, has never been opened. I got an Apple Pencil. I have an ergonomic mouse. Like I got stuff that I either could not return or tried to return and Amazon told me to keep or whatever. So I've got like a bunch of brand new electronics, and I figured it was a good idea to give them away because one, we're supposed to be limiting our tech consumption right now, especially with what's going on in Congo and over there. If y'all don't know what's going on with Tigray, Congo, Sudan, a lot of people know what's going on with Palestine, but not a lot of people are still aware with what's going on in Congo and how our tech consumption is contributing to that and how we're trying to divest from that. And so I do have a lot of electronics that I'm gonna try to give away. It is like really random stuff too, but it's like brand new stuff that I don't know what to do with. So we're gonna have a giveaway here soon. So if you guys have any ideas for a giveaway, that would be great. Afro Turban Guy, how can we follow you on social media? Like that, Afro Turban Guy.
Yep. As a matter of fact, the same way that it is actually on listed on here, all together one word. It is the same way. You can find me on X there. I haven't been tweeting as much lately, honestly, but I am there. But you can also find me on Instagram under the same handle as well. Those are the two places where I tend to be, I guess, a bit more active. I don't really use any other social media platforms. So yeah,
Yeah.
it is X and Instagram.
And I will say, as somebody who was formerly a brand manager for a living, Ray is a brand manager / publicist dream. Like, all of his handles are Afro Turban Guy, easy to find, real succinct, real together. So that's a good way to find Ray if you wanna find him. Yes, pray for the Congo. Absolutely. Oh, by workers, he means recent immigrants like truckers. They get tiffin service. It's homemade food, not the same as restaurants. Gotcha.
Awesome.
That's kind of okay. That makes sense. I get that. Millions of displaced people in Congo. It's unreal. It's getting so little exposure. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's kind of wild. And it's been happening for so long, and it just, like, I know that things are slow and I know things move slowly, but if you can imagine, like, I'm sure a lot of us have seen the videos of what's happening in Gaza and like Philistine and all that stuff, but like, if you it's equally as bad in Congo and Sudan. And I'm not going to play oppression Olympics or any of that stuff. It's bad. Like, I've been hearing some of the stories of the women who've been dealing with the sexual assault and yeah, I don't want to get into it too much right now, but if you don't know what's happening in Congo, if you don't know what's happening in Sudan, if you don't know what's happening in Tigray, please look into it, look it up. Maybe we can have an episode where we talk about that and just kind of shed a little bit of light on what's happening. Not to say that what's happening in Palestine is not important, but like, I think a lot of people got that, like a lot of people, we've done a lot better. It seems like a long time coming. I remember when I first started reading about what's happening in Palestine and over in Gaza and stuff, and nobody was talking about it. Like, nobody was talking about it, and trying to get somebody to talk about it or even care about it or even listen to you talk about it was tough. And so I'm just so grateful that more people are talking about the people of Gaza and Palestine, and I just would love for that. I would love for the Congo and the people of Sudan and Tigray to get that shine.
It's
That'd be
unfortunate.
great.
Unfortunately, and I see someone in the comments mentioned that they're not surprised that the West isn't talking about it. And the sad truth is, I'm inclined to agree. I don't expect it to happen.
Right. Somebody said it's no surprise Western media is not covering the Congo. Yeah, I think that's true. It's not a surprise because, again, a lot of it has to do with our technology consumption, and if you start to shine a light on that, it's a domino effect at that point, because then we're talking about, because the right thing to do would be divest, right? And it's tough because this is what I don't know if y'all can see. This is what my phone looks like right now. Oh, let me see if I can. This is what my phone looks like right now. Okay, I had surgery like on my finger, and a surgical instrument fell and it hit the thing and it kind of started bleeding. So my screen doesn't even work. It doesn't even work right now, and I'm really pissed because I'm trying hard not to buy a new phone. Right, that's the goal. That's the ideal, is to divest from the consumption of technology right now, and yet I'm gonna have to figure out something because trying to get on this live even tonight was a hassle, and trying to do the Black and Sick work has been tough without a phone. So, and between that and just like, again, like all of my money and resources going to Black and Sick these days. So anyways, long story short, Congo, Tigray, Sudan, Palestine, look into it, read more about it, and we'll be back soon with some more food talk. Let me see and make sure we got everything. Pray for the Congo, millions of displaced people in Congo. It's unreal. It's getting so little exposure. For sure. Thanks. It's no surprise Western media is not covering the Congo. Yep, I've not been able to take my son home to Ethiopia because of this conflict. Yeah, that God, that's gotta suck. I can't imagine. I mean, it's tough because as much as I say I can't imagine displacement, like I understand that I am technically displaced, right? Like because of our ancestors, but this is also where I'm from, like I was born here. So it's not the same. It doesn't feel the same. And so, Anyways, um, anything else? Any last words? Again, I know this conversation was all over the place. Hopefully, you guys, I appreciate y'all joining in. That was my goal. That was my hope. I wanted to learn some more. I wanted to find out what some of the favorite foods are. If anybody has a recommendation for Indian cuisine for people allergic to tree nuts, and or people who have a texture thing and don't like really like soupy textures, like liquidy stuff, like yogurt based stuff, if you have any recommendations, please drop it in the comments. We're about to get off of this live, so you can go to this. I'll leave this up on YouTube. If you could drop it in the comments, we need some suggestions, y'all, for Indian
I'll
food we
try
can try.
anything, so I'm pretty good. You can suggest anything to Ray. I'll try
Yeah.
anything once.
Yeah, we need some foods for free of tree nuts, and then some that are like more solid and not like super soupy. And again, Kimmy, can you put this in the comments because I can't type right now? Miss X Tina B. So at Miss X Tina B, XTINAB. It's Christina Brown. And then Death to Diaspora Wars. That is the name of the
Love you
series.
from Punjab. Thank you for your
Thank you.
support.
Appreciate that. Death to Diaspora Wars is the name of the series, and she goes through food. She talks about food from the different parts of the diaspora and how they're basically all the same. Like, so even though they took us from this place and they put us all over, they displaced us and put us all over the globe. Again, what was that? Eric that said that? I wish I still had that comment, but Eric's comment was really profound. I think it was, one of my favorite comments of the night. Let me see. I think this is it. Yeah.
Mhm.
So this is it. I'm going to end up on this note. Speaking from my familiar experience, Germans from Russia who immigrated to the U.S. in 1915, that's Eric's familiar experience. Food traditions remain after white supremacy forces assimilation, and we lose our cultural and linguistic traditions. And I will go so far as to say, because language matters, food traditions remain after white supremacy forces assimilation and strips us of our cultural and linguistic traditions. We didn't just lose them. We didn't lose them by happenstance. They didn't just fade away into existence for no reason. They were systematically and actively stripped and taken from us. And when I say us, I don't just mean Black Americans, but Black Americans for sure. But again, that sort of forced assimilation that it kind of ties into the whole model minority myth in that too. There's assimilation with that too. I think Asians probably understand. So
Mexicans too. Even
yeah, that's
in
true
my
too.
youth,
Indigenous people,
I
yeah.
remember in middle school, I actually got kicked out of class one day for going off on a teacher for getting mad at one of my Latino friends for talking Spanish. He legit said to them, "This is America. We don't talk that in my classroom," and yada yada yada. And I went off because even at that age, I was like, "So I'm supposed to sit here like." As a person who knows what it's like to be stripped of our culture, you're getting angry with this person for speaking their language. So I took objection to that. I got kicked out of class for going off on the teacher for that.
That's interesting. Oh, I found the video. Now that's you. Wow, that's pretty bold of them to. Okay, so what? Okay, did they get away with that?
Yeah, unfortunately, they did.
Damn, bro.
Because the argument, especially where the schools I went to growing up and stuff like, the argument always was, I don't want you speaking any other languages in my class because we don't know what you're saying and you might be talking about me. First off, why do you think you're that important? Maybe this conversation this person had, especially a person that speaks two languages, I don't think that you realize while you're thinking everything else is about you. A person who has a primary language, it's very easy for them a lot of times when talking to other people from their same background to slip into that real quick, to get a point across faster than that second language they know, which is English.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever because I've been on a mission. The more that I study, I'm a linguistics nerd, and if I ever go back to school, it will be to formally study linguistics. I've been kind of an autodidact and studying linguistics for a while, but again, if I ever do go back to school, that's what it'll be for. So I've been kind of on a mission to I don't know if reclaim is the right word, but prop up AAVE, African American Vernacular English, as a language. And I think if there's any argument that it is its own language, is the fact that we could be speaking it and somebody outside of the conversation could think that they know what we're saying and really not have a clue, right? Because to be clear, AAVE is more than just slang. It's not just with Gen Z talk. It's not just Riz and this and that. AAVE is more than that. It has its own grammar. It has its own rules, its own language rules. It is its own thing. And so I have gone so far as to proclaim that AAVE is my first language. Some people like, do you speak multiple languages? I sure do. AAVE and English, King's English. I sure do. And again, when you talk about it can be easy to slip into it, you know, sometimes I have to remember to translate, right? Like sometimes I can get real comfortable with people, non-Black people, and just slip right into AAVE, and then they are confused or don't fully understand what I'm saying, and I'm like, oh, I got to translate this now, right? And so I can imagine that that's the case for somebody whose first language is something like Spanish or something completely separate from English, right? When you start getting around people and you get in your comfort zone, you start feeling comfortable. Yeah, it can be real easy to slip into that. And anybody who has an issue with somebody else speaking another language, all I just gonna say is just learn another language. Just learn another language. Kimmy, I don't know if you got the message in Discord. I did find the Christina B. Oh, ready. Okay, cool. Yeah, so
a good example, by the way, of what you were just saying about the AAVE, because it just came to my mind. But one of my favorite examples is somebody tells you something and we go, you like it, I love it. We know exactly what that actually means. But some other folks on the outside are probably gonna be like, oh, okay.
Or oh, she better than me.
Uh-huh.
You don't really mean that. We don't mean that literally. Oh, you child, you better than me. Cause child, if you like it, I love it. Like I remember my dad saying that when I was young, my bio dad, and I was like, do you know? Why would you? But I thought you didn't like, and you start picking that up real quick. Like I never had any formal classes on AAVE, but I bet you I'm fluent though. Yeah, you better than me. Okay. Yeah. So Kimmy, if you're ready, I don't know. Oh, there we go. Okay. So Kimmy's going to play this. You can speed it up to 1.25 if you can. If not, you can play. I don't know how long it is. Oh, it's 2 minutes. It's not that bad. Okay. So here it is. Now here I want to say this because we're far over time and I realize that it's late somewhere. If y'all need to go, y'all can go. Like it's cool. We are recording this. You can always watch back the replay. We're having a good time. And I do really want to show this video. And Ray, if you need to go, let me know anytime soon. We're going to go after this. But again, if you're here, and you want to,
I can watch this
later.
then I need to go study after
right
this.
I was just about to say if you're here, and I got so much work to do for Black and Sick, I mean, but yeah, let's play this. And this is a multi-part series and I'm not gonna play too much. I'm not gonna play all of them, but I really want y'all to see this. I love this series and I kind of wish we could have started with this. Maybe we'll start part 2 with this. All right, go ahead and play it for me, Kimmy.
Black American, and to kick things off this month, we're going to start with a little presentation I want to call Death to Diaspora Wars, because I'm not doing it this month or year. All right, so here's a list of similarities that we all have that we can reflect on so we can start acting like we got some goddamn sense. Starting with Black. Can you tell by the complexion of these arms where all these people are from? Didn't think so. We are all Black. Next up is jollof rice and jambalaya. Y'all are not going to play with me. We can continue the wars, but what we cannot argue about is that these dishes are very similar. Do we all put our thing down, flip it, and reverse it? Absolutely, but they're still very similar. Bringing me to my next rice dish, red beans and rice. Now, you may call it rice and beans, or beans and rice and peas, even though it clearly is a bean, but nonetheless, it's still very similar. Next, we have shaking ass, hips, and thighs. And this is probably what I'm most passionate about because one thing we're going to do is just exactly that. And whether it's a whine, a grind, a twerk, a yike, a dagger, does not matter. All right. And one is not more cultural than the other. One is not deserve to be more sexualized, villainized than the other. We're going to break back. We're going to throw ass, and we're going to catch it all the same. Thank you. Next, we have steaming greens. Again, back to the food. If you're going to tell me all these greens are clearly not deliciously steamed, I don't know what to tell you. Next up is stew. Did you think I was done with the food? Absolutely not. Because one thing we're going to do is put some meat and vegetables in a pot and stew that shit up. And again, all these pictures I'm showing are different dishes, but dishes nonetheless that look delicious. Okay. Next we have the quintessential international language across the African diaspora for you got me fucked up. All right, this is the collective Black confusion coming together linguistically. We all know what mean regardless of where we come from and regardless of the languages we speak. Next we have From South Central to Senegal, Harlem to Haiti, Johannesburg to Jamaica, London and Liberia, they all stress this out the same. They do. They internationally have their own language across the African diaspora, and that language is gaslighting, but unfortunately for some of us, we can't get enough. On that note, we're going to go on to our next segment, but that's going to be done in a part 2.
Okay, so there's I'm about to share this with you, Kimmy. There's one more because that one I forgot. I forgot that the Death to Diaspora War started off as like a whole thing. But there are a few that are specific to the video. I mean, videos. There are a few of them that are specific to food. Let me see. It is part
Let me go ahead
3.
and drop out.
All right, Ray. Thank you, appreciate you. Sign up. Let him again. Afro Turban Guy on Instagram, Twitter. We'll be signing out here in a minute. I just want to play this last video thing, and I'm gonna hit you up in Discord. Appreciate you.
Of course, y'all. Have a
Happy studying.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, peace. All right, let me see if okay. All right, so let me get out of here because I don't think I think that's it. Research up Jutka meat. Not sure if it was discussed. I had to step away after you asked that question in the Gurdwara. Some of the best cuisine is in places like South Africa and Jamaica, where South Asian and African food converge. Oh, DJ Kung Fu Panda, you're so right. You're so right. Oh, I'm low-key jealous of those in the Caribbean, where the Indo-Caribbean. Oh, that is probably amazing food. Oh my goodness. Now I need to do some research. That might be like one of the first I kind of got excited. Food doesn't usually excite me, but that kind of excited me. All right, cool. F Gil 14 says yes, Punjabis understand the model minority. Yeah, I would imagine so. And model minority myth is one of those things that like not everybody is aware of it, but I think a lot more people understand it. Even if they don't always have the language for it, right? That's something that I talk about a lot, where I say like, even the most hood person or somebody who hasn't gone to college and doesn't have this flowery language for stuff, even they understand respectability politics, right? Even if they don't have the language or the name respectability politics, they understand it. And I think that's true with the model minority when it comes to South Asians, Punjabi folks, and things of that nature. So I definitely agree with you, FGIL 14. Will this be on the YouTube channel? Yes. Sahil Diol, I don't know if I'm saying that right. This will be on the YouTube channel Black X Sikh. I think that's it. I don't know if Kimmy got my message about the second video, and I don't have a way to do it because my phone is messed up. So I'm gonna drop the links for the video in the comments. Somebody said try gulab jamun. Okay, let me write that down. Hold on, because I did ask for recommendations. I did. Not me not spelling it right. Gulab. Okay, I'm gonna try that. I don't know if that recommendation was for me or for Kimmy with the no tree nuts thing, but we'll try it. Oh, these comments are coming in weird. Oh, it's the playlist thing. Okay. Damn, I don't have a way to type. That's the thing. I don't have a way to type. I'm gonna just get out of here. I've been on here long enough. I'm gonna just say find Miss Xtina B, and you should check out the Death to Diaspora Wars food series, or you should check out the Death to Diaspora Wars series, but she's got a couple ones that are specific to food. I would highly recommend checking that out. If you guys know anybody that knows Indian cuisine that would love to talk about food and the intersection of food and culture and faith, please let us know. Hit us up. Additionally, if you have anybody who wants to discuss anything that happens to take place at the intersection of culture and faith, let us know. We've got the podcast where we do our more formal episodes, where we fully produce those episodes. We script them out. We schedule guests, and we do all that stuff. We've got a number of those coming up. But the Wednesday night lives is our more chill time, where we just kind of have these conversations out loud and in public, kind of. And so that's what we're doing here. So anyways, I'm gonna get out of here. Check out Mr. Xtina B, and we will, if you want to hop on the Discord, let me know. It's not open to the public yet. It is invite only, but shoot me a message. Let me know. I'll get out of here. Again, my name is Smalls. My pronouns are she, her. I'm here on Chumash and Tongvaland. And I appreciate y'all coming through. Y'all stay safe. Peace.